Testing, testing, testing.
And just like that, another week has gone. Exactly 11 o'clock. You can set your watches to it. I'm Russ Kane. This is Men's Radio Station, coming at you 100% live from our studios here in the heart of London on a horrible, grey, rainy, lousy day. We're in Covent Garden. It's already packed out there. It's already packed. Always. But I feel fortified from a sausage sandwich. Yeah, I haven't gone vegan yet. Get over it. Now, there is no Phil Dave today. Did you ever like him, James? No, you never liked him, really. No Phil Dave today. No Phil Dave. I get a phone call, can't come in. Well, actually, Phil goes, hello, Phil Dave here, can't come. Yeah, he's gone somewhere called, what's it called? The
BBA?
BBD? What is he? Is he a stewardess? What is he now? Anyway, he's at the BBC today, so we hate him. You're not speaking to him. Rocking the decks as ever, boy wonder producer, just 24 years old, and boy does it show. James Blake.
Also rocking the phones today as well.
Oh, and rocking the phones. In our green room, the green room goddess, Deborah Blake will be there looking after all our guests. Dennis, head of social media, he's already there doing his social media thing in a quiet kind of way. Dennis is another one like Tristan Lee who really annoys me because Dennis looks about 12. How old is he? I mean, he's not 12.
Isn't he about 14, I thought?
Maybe he's like 14, 15 now, but he looks ludicrously young. Although nobody looks like Benjamin Button, otherwise Tristan Lee. If you don't listen to the Tristan Lee show, you really should. Anywho, action-packed show today. James, if people want to join in, do explain how they can do it.
There are several ways you can join the conversation here at Men's Radio Station. You can phone us on our telephone number, which is 0203 290 4411. And it's a Skype number, so you can phone us from anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world, David Mindel.
Anywhere in the world, David. And
I want David to phone us from France.
But only when Phil's here. Only when Phil's here.
Yes, they can just go crazy.
Another way you can get in contact with us is you can contact us via our social media platforms. We are Men's Radio STN. Once again, that's Men Radio STN.
STN being short for station. Everyone goes, well, why STN? What's those? It's short for station. Come on.
We just wanted to be different.
Yeah, that's right.
So we had STN. And you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And if you go to the Facebook page of Men's Radio Station, you'll see it says we are live on air, which means that if you connect to that live video, you'll see me pointing at you.
I'm so sorry. I can only apologise for that. A nicely unironed T-shirt yet again. We've already sorted out James's Christmas present. It's going to be one of those little portable irons because I can't look at this stuff anymore. Tons to talk about. Yesterday, I was at the launch of something that I was very, very excited about. It's a wonderful initiative. We had them into the studio to talk. We were the first media to talk to them. Suki Thompson, who is a human dynamo. It's called Let's Reset, the most wonderful initiative started by one woman and grown into this huge thing. And photographs by the world's leading photographer, a man called Rankin. I couldn't believe I got a call out the blue in the early part of the summer, months and months and months ago. Would I like my photo taken by Rankin? I thought they were joking. So I went along to the studio, hundreds of people He is, just to put it in perspective, a signed Rankin photo is £10,000 if you could get him.
Did you get me a signed one?
I didn't get. Well, yeah, I'll sign a copy of my photo for you. That's enough. That's something you'd pin on your bedroom wall.
Is it £10,000 though?
No, it's free. It's for you. And they have produced this wonderful coffee table book. There's 82 of us in it, telling our individual stories. It's all about mental health. It's all about overcoming great problems of all different complexities. My own personal stuff that happened, which is why they called me in. They didn't even know we had men's radio station and women's radio station, so that was just an absolute added bonus. All of this woman who speaks very bravely. She's young. She's had cancer so far 4 times. She does the work. You've met her, James. She was
lovely. She was lovely.
Great. Suki Thompson is her name, and gave a wonderful speech. I mean, it was a speech for about half an hour or more, nearly about a 40-minute speech, and it was absolutely, had everybody enraptured. The great and the good were there, all sorts of people. We're very honoured and proud to be part of that initiative, to be their media partners on this, as they have an open invitation to men's and women's radio station. It's called Let's Reset. The book is available on Amazon now, or you can go onto the Let's Reset website and buy the book. The photos are absolutely extraordinary. And to be photographed by Rankin is really, really a big deal. Now, excuse-moi.
Let me help you out here, Russ.
Yeah, thank you. My voice just, hang on.
I think the cold weather has gotten to you.
I think what it was. No, I was doing a lot of chatting yesterday to amazing all sorts of people. I mean, one of the people's in the, his son, I met this guy before, I didn't realise his son's in the England cricket team. I'm not going to mention any names. And young guy. Kind of your age, James. And the pressure on him to play at first-class level cricket is enormous. We forget these are young guys. And he's dealing and he's talking about the pressure. So that's one side of mental health and, really very difficult. Suki Thompson's daughter got up and spoke. Now, she's at university studying, I think, psychology or something. And that was her first time away, and she was talking about the mental problems that the students around her on campus were suffering. And I know this from my own kids. I got twin boys at 21, as many of you know. And the pressures on the students, and you might think, well, all they do is watch Cash in the Attic all day. They're away from home. They're facing the first time of having to budget. It's a big deal. Right, now what I wanted to talk about was this. And James,
I'm ready.
You're involved in this. Last night, I was called into Talk Radio. It's another radio station run by somebody called Rupert Murdoch. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's doing quite well. He's a young Australian fellow. Anyway, Talk Radio wanted me on because, as you know, some absolute Herbert on a local BBC radio station has banned the Pogues' Fairy Tale of New York Christmas song from being played on his local BBC. I always reminds me of Alan Partridge, I can't help it. And he's had it banned because he says it's offensive.
It's offensive?
It's offensive. Now, as you know, those of you who regularly listen to Men's Radio Station, James is just 24, I'm slightly older. So we have both polar ends of the spectrum of views of life. I went nuts and said it was ridiculous. What they are offended by is the F word, not the 4-letter F word, another F word, which is a derogatory term for a homosexual, for a gay person, beginning with F. You know what it is. It's also a well-known northern meat product that you can buy, and you have it with gravy and mashed potatoes.
Now, that I did not know.
What?
That it was a well-known northern meat product.
Well, it is. That's what it is called.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Every day is a
day.
school day, as I wrote for you on the website only yesterday. Now, my thing is this, and people went nuts, and on social media I was swamped with this, because then they added, should we ban Enid Blyton? Because that's racist. And then it just went on. And I said, well, where do we stop? And I'm just curious because Christmas, it's back again. It's almost like it's every year. So Christmas is coming back. They play all the same Christmas songs, and we deal with every aspect here. And in 2020, we're having some new programs aimed specifically. And people say, well, why would you aim specifically? Because I want to be totally inclusive. All the shows on men's radio station, women's radio station are very inclusive, but we wanted particularly shows for the LGBT plus community. I didn't want anyone to be excluded, but you're not. Everyone listens. But I wanted extra shows, so that's what we're doing. Do you think it's offensive, James Blake? Do you think it should have been banned? I'm just curious. What do you think from your young perspective?
Do I think it's an offensive term? Yes, 100%.
Yes, that's what I said, actually.
It is 100% offensive. You cannot deny that it's a nasty word.
It is now.
There's another song, another famous song, that is not allowed to be played on the airways because it uses the same word. It's Money for Nothing by Dire Straits.
I forgot that.
Yeah, that's not allowed to be played on the airways.
You're kidding me.
Because
I've forgotten that.
That's featured as well. Do I think the song should be banned? Do I think Money for Nothing should be banned? No, I don't think. I think they're from a different era.
This is the thing. It's somebody today on social media came up with a great phrase. It's called liberal fascism. Are we causing offence? The reason I'm putting it into the show, at the front end of the show, is because it is to do with mental health, and it is to do with well-being. Because if you're offending and causing deep offence, that has ramifications. The conversation yesterday on the radio then went, well, what do you think about Michael Jackson?
Massive fan.
Well, I'm a huge fan. The guy was a musical genius. I think he was, mad as a box of frogs, probably. But was he a musical genius? Absolutely. So my answer to that was it would be depriving millions of people who adore his music not to be able to listen to his vast canon of work.
I also think that the music kind of doesn't have anything to do with the man.
But then, where do you stop the line? Because would you be happy playing a Gary Glitter tune? Seriously, it's not a joke. Would you be happy playing a Gary Glitter tune?
Do you know, I don't really listen to Gary Glitter, so I don't really know.
I could not. It would make my stomach heave. Now, here's the thing. And it's an interesting, and do join in. I'd love to know your views. You can if you don't want to talk because you're shy, yeah, right. But if you don't want to talk, just come onto social media and make a comment, because we're on Facebook Live right now. It's this, Gary Glitter, one of the most revolting, vile, horrible people you could ever just disgusting, inexcusable and revolting. Represents everything that we would fight tooth and nail against. Pop songs, great 3.5-minute pop songs. Totally different. But his crimes are so vile, you can't bring yourself to play the music. But then Michael Jackson, who was found innocent throughout the trial, he was accused, but he was never found guilty of anything. But it's it's different, isn't it? You find yourself saying, no, we'll play Michael Jackson, even though it's a murky water, but you can't, you can live without Gary Glitter, thank God, but you can't live without Michael Jackson, not on the radio, not in modern music.
So here's the thing. It's music.
That was like Howard Jameson. You've been with Howard too.
I've been.
I'm going
to have 2 tea bags in my tea from now on. To live up to the legacy of Howard.
The
Jameson.
Legacy of Howard.
Here's the thing with music and banning it and stuff like that. I mean, let's take Fairy Tales of New York, for example, a classic Christmas song.
Yep.
Yeah, but I have lots of friends who are homosexual that like that song, even though they know it uses that term in a derogatory manner.
And this goes on to another thing about being offended, because this is what so many people are saying, well, it's affecting my mental health. Are you getting offended on other people's behalf when you're not actually involved, and claiming something is racist when it's not aimed at you? Perhaps. For example, the conversation then went on, and I brought up my favourite, which you and I disagree on, Robertson's Jam.
No.
Wait, let me finish, fella. Robertson's Jam, as people of my age and a bit younger everybody, which is everybody, will remember, had a logo of a sort of doll figure. And I'm not going to say the word because, all right, the word is offensive. No? But the doll figure. And then you would get beautiful enamel brooches. I never, and I said it again last night, I never associated that with any form of racial slur. To me, it was just a logo, and they made beautiful enamel pin badges which people wear on their lapels. It never crossed my mind. This was the thing. It never crossed my mind.
It's funny.
And I know it drives you mad, and you absolutely loathe it, and I don't see anything except a logo.
You know, I might be wrong in this scenario because I'll say that a lot of people that have come to the studio that we've had this conversation with tend to be more leaning your way to this idea that it's just a logo. It wasn't offensive at the time. It's not offensive now. So I could be wrong, but all I know is that when I see the Robinson Jams thing, I think no, that's not.
I don't know, and I don't know if that's a generational thing. I don't know if it's now wrapped up with so much other stuff. It's kind of hard to say, but I never, as a child and as a teenager and as an adult, I never associated that with anything negative. I just thought I actually thought it's a really charming logo. But there you go. Things move on. Enid Blyton. Now, as you know, I've always written. Enid Blyton was my introduction to any form of literature. Enid Blyton was my introduction to books. Gave me a lifelong adoration of books, which is stronger now than ever. Made me want to be a writer. I owe her so much. Is she racist? Well, where does that come from? I don't get that. Now, did the goddess of the green room, Deborah Blake, i.e. your mum, read, your mum.
You've lost me here, unfortunately.
Did she read Enid Blyton to you when you were a kid?
No, unfortunately.
You don't know who Enid Blyton is, do you? Jesus. Unbelievable. You seriously don't know who Enid Blyton is? Noddy. No?
Noddy?
5 Adventures? Don't start Googling. Google boy.
I mean, it's just to help me understand.
You've no idea who Enid Blyton.
I mean, if we want to talk about
God Almighty.
I mean, when were these books published, Russ? I mean,
no, but they're classics. They're children's classics.
But what's so offensive about them? That's all I want to know.
If you didn't like the Robertson's Jam logo, he says, stepping around this particular little minefield, right, then those little characters appear amongst all the other characters with teddy bears and, little dolls and everything. It's Toyland. It's Noddy in Toyland. Noddy's a little character.
And then, that's depicted in what would be maybe seen as an offensive manner? The same way
they're not living in Brixton or something and selling drugs. They're little characters who interact with all the other little characters.
Yeah, but, if you have
they're not
a character that's maybe fits into certain racial stereotypes.
This was written in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah,
a different era. A different era. Completely.
Where it was maybe acceptable to
have little dolls. They weren't being poked fun of. No, James, you don't know the books.
Era. It's a different era, Russ.
But James,
it's a different era.
James, here's the thing. Isn't the acid test, did they have an effect on you? Did Enid Blyton's books have an effect on you and affect my mental well-being and mental health? Yes.
I mean...
Hang on. Yes, they did. They made me love books. They made me love reading. Did I grow up to be a raving racist? No. If you say anything, I will slap you.
No, but
I'm not.
You're very much not, actually, to be fair.
No, I'm genuine. I'm genuinely not. Not some of the pantomime stuff that I pretend to do. But I'm not. I grew up on these books. I mean, by the same thing, I used to play cowboys and Indians, right, as a little child. I had loads of toy guns. I loved my toy guns. Have I gone out and shot anybody? No. Do I possess a real gun? No. Do I want a real gun? No. Did it affect me? No. I just had a childhood where, I'd have holsters and guns and rifles and stuff.
Which I did as well, to be fair.
There you are.
And I mean, I kind of turned out okay, I think. I'm not sure the jury's still out.
Well, we don't know. We'll have the end-of-year review.
Which is coming up very soon.
Which is coming soon. And you're going to review the last 12 months.
We've joked about this a lot on air, but the day has finally come.
when we were going to have an end-of-year review. So, these things, and everyone gets so so offended. I used to work, when I was in advertising, one of my biggest clients in America was a toy company. And they took out all of Guns from the toy range. And the sales force, it was a huge company, gigantic. It was the third biggest toy company in America. Gigantic. And they took out Guns. And the sales force, remember, you're covering America. You're not like going up to Leeds and everything. This is huge. And they went nuts. They were so upset. And then the Guns came back and the sales force breathed an enormous sigh of relief. Now, is there a continuum between selling toy guns and then you go out on a rampage? God forbid, a million times. But we don't have that here. I just think we get so overprotective. And my other question about mental well-being is this. We can't look at everything. I'm going to call it, we're nearly in 2020 now, right? You can't look at everything with 2020 hindsight. You just can't. Some things are as they were. You know, that's how it was. You can't do that.
Yeah, but, just because that's how it used to be doesn't mean that's how it needs to be. We can have change. Change is a good thing. It can be a positive.
Change is a good thing. And getting rid of things which are totally unacceptable, like racism of all sorts, like discrimination of all sorts. Of course, that's what we strive for. That's why we set up the radio stations.
Now, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. Is that song not discriminatory? Because I will say this as well.
I think the song is about a awful relationship, and the awful relationship is still dragging its sorry ass along, and it's Christmas time. So you hear this dialogue. The song's a dialogue, really, between two people. And she's saying, you're in bed, you're a drug addict, and she's just slagging him off.
Yeah, and that is why I think maybe I could make the argument that it could be banned, because the way that word is used in this context as a derogatory insult.
But
it's saying,
the gay,
you are...
I get that. But are the gay... Yes, it's being used as... I mean, in the same way that you could say, oh, that sweater, that's really gay. And you know what I mean? That people would say that. I don't think they were saying that a gay person would wear that sweater. It was a kind of mildly amusing way of just taking the mick out of someone wearing a sweater that you didn't particularly like. Did the gay community think that was a terrible thing? I don't think so. I got loads and loads of gay relatives and gay cousins, men and women. I got, obviously, look, I've been in the entertainment industry since 1984. What, you don't think that I'm like practically everybody I know is gay? And my point is this. If I were going to say anything about the gay community, it would be this. The funniest people on the planet. The most amusing, the most witty, the most sarcastic, the most fun.
Now, I have to say this. I've just seen a comment on the Facebook page, and this is very, very interesting.
Go ahead.
Barry J. Allen says,
Flash.
Are we still allowed to say White Christmas? Or is that offensive?
Barry, thank you for commenting. And you can, just like Barry J. Allen, the Flash. That's because if you know DC Comics, you know that the Flash's real name is Barry Allen. So there you go. So it's just great to have somebody called Barry Allen. I just assume he can get from here to Manchester in 10 seconds. A lot of people have said that. I mean, it started off as a joke. Is White Christmas. Can we sing I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas?
Which is my favourite Christmas song.
It's an adorable, fabulous song. No, what the song means... you see, this is what drives me nuts. It's not saying I'm dreaming of a Christmas where there's no people of colour, just Caucasians. It's not saying that. The song is saying I'm dreaming of a white Christmas because they want snow. They want it to be like the traditional old Christmas card, and there's snow. But Barry kind of half says it as a joke, but then you're thinking, well, how this liberal fascism, which is a wonderful phrase, I can't remember who used it. Somebody on my Facebook page today used it. If you ever want to go on my Facebook page, it's just Russ Kane. Just look it up on Facebook, and there I am. And of course, we're on a women's radio station, men's radio station as well. So, can we say white? Well, of course we can. I mean, where are you going to draw the line?
But I think it's the context that it's used in. So if we go back to your sweater analogy, where you say, that is a gay sweater, in quotations,
no,
you're not using it in an aggressive, derogatory way.
It's not gay. It's like, if you'd only say it to someone you really knew was a pal, You go, oh, that's gay, and
but you're not using it.
But
as
you're
an
not
insult.
saying, you're not slagging off the gay community. It's a term, and I've stopped saying it. But and in answer to your earlier question, would I use the F word, not the four-letter F word, but the derogatory term for homosexuality beginning with F, which is also a meat product from the north of England? Would I use that in conversation? No, never. No, I wouldn't. But the song Fairy Tale of New York is, what is it? I don't know, 20, 25 years old. Would they sing it now? Probably not, but it's a classic. Like Baby It's Cold Outside. It's not saying, baby, it's cold outside, by the way, I've put Rohypnol into your drink.
Isn't that the...
I'm Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
No, it's not saying that. It's a kind of very romantic dialogue between a man and a woman. I thought it was great. It's still one of my favourite songs.
What I don't understand is that song was written in a different era.
Yep.
And if you can bleep out words in rap songs, why can't you just bleep out that word?
Because you see, then the conversation last night on the radio went on to, well, that's censorship. I said, well, wait a minute. Hang on. If you're going to ban a song, that's total censorship. Yeah. So if you're so offended by the F word in Fairy Tale of New York, bleep it. Bleep it out.
And everyone's happy in that.
And then, well, are they happy? People who don't like censorship are not happy.
Yeah, but it's like you say, it's
you
worse
can't have
to
it. You can't have it both ways, right? As we head up to the break, my argument yesterday then went on to this. I'm listening at the moment on Audible. I listen to loads of audiobooks, and I'm listening to one of the best things I've ever heard, which is, I'm obsessed with Sherlock Holmes, always have been since a child. I'm obsessed with the writing of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and Stephen Fry on Audible reads magnificently, I can't praise it enough, the entire works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle for Sherlock Holmes. It's 71 hours. I'm nearly finished. 71 hours, I'm nearly finished. Because when I walk the dog and I'm on the train and the bus and everything, that's what I do, right? There's the N word in that comes up. Not as a derogatory term. It's just in conversation. The N word comes up. The J word comes up. Should we ban... My question I threw back was, well, if you want to ban Enid Blyton, we're going to ban the works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Well, that then I would take to the streets with a placard even more than I normally do.
It's very hard to say.
It's a very, very... Of course, it was written, the last books were written in sort of the very early 1920s. Most of them were written in the sort of 1800s. Of course, it's a different era, but the stories are absolutely stunning. This is Men's Radio Station. I'm Russ Kane with James Blake. Back in a mo.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Do you want to hang out and really know that you've been listened to? Do you want to debrief and have a laugh and not have to fall down the same hole as every other man in front of you? Then why not go to mensgroups.co.uk, download the Men's Groups ground rules, download the Men's Groups check-in round. There are loads of videos and you can just hit the ground running, growing with other men.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's Radio Station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Hi, I'm Noel McDermott, licensed psychotherapist and host of Wellbeing Wednesdays. During Wellbeing Wednesdays, I talk about all things psychotherapy and mental well-being, offering practical help and advice on issues around relationships, anxiety, depression, drugs and alcohol, whilst trying to improve your mental wealth and giving you an interesting stories from our guests. Join the conversation, have your voice heard, or ask for advice from one of my many specialist guests. We can try and advise you on your problems. Be part of the conversation. Come and join us every Wednesday from 9 to 10:30pm on Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, this is Russ Kane, just popping in to wish you a very, very happy Christmas from myself, from Howard Jameson, and from all the team here at Men's Radio Station. We only kicked off in January this year, and what a year it's been. So may I wish you a very happy Christmas, happy holiday season, and here's to 2020 fulfilling all of your dreams. Thank you so much for your support. You have been absolutely amazing. Have fun.
Think Therapy Sessions, a new radio show coming soon.
Hear pre-recorded professional counsellors talking live to their clients.
Hear real-life issues being discussed.
Listen to how trained practitioners deal with these issues.
Never had a therapy session before?
Not sure what counselling entails?
Tune in and hear firsthand what a therapy session is really like.
Brought to you by the Men's Radio Station in partnership with the One Stop Psychotherapy Shop and supported by over 200 trained counsellors across the UK.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
I'm Russ Kane. This is Men's Radio Station, coming at you absolutely live from the centre of London here in Covent Garden. We love being here because it's always so busy. It never seems to close.
It reminds me, when you, like, Covent Garden is, I've never been to New York, but it's what I imagine Grand Central Station would be like. But
no, Grand Central Station is breathtaking. Architecturally, absolutely breathtaking.
But I mean the busyness.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely, it heaves. Now, the more perspicacious amongst you, I swallowed a dictionary this morning, I didn't care. The more perspicacious, oh, by the way, I got to interrupt myself before I introduce a very special guest. May I recommend, now you and I go to the little cafe on the corner, Earl's,
yes,
run by the two nicest guys, cafe owners in London, right? They're great. I love little independent shops. And I went in, I had my usual double espresso, then I had another double espresso before the show, and they said, want a sandwich, Russ? Do you want a sandwich? I said, no. They said, have you tried our Cumberland sausage sandwich? Gotta tell you, I'm putting it on your list, James Blake.
You know I'm a connoisseur of the sandwich
These sausages are brought in fresh, they're homemade, terrific. Place is called Earl's. I'm giving them a plug because they're so sweet to us.
You'll know where I'll be at the end of the show.
You'll be at Earl's having a Cumberland sausage sandwich. Now, as I was saying, the more perspicacious amongst you may have seen a man of mystery sitting on my right, which to you will be left, if you're watching on Facebook Live, and you're thinking, is this Russ's bodyguard? Has he upset so many people he has to have personal protection now? No. This was a gentleman that we met at the This Can Happen conference, run by Zoe Sinclair, who's another... I've got to say, and please do not take offence, but when a woman decides she's going to do something, they move freaking mountains. Because yesterday was Suki Thompson, who just had an idea to start Let's Reset, and she's gathered the most unbelievable group of people. I mean, a powerhouse of media and activity, and for mental health. Fantastic. This other lady, Zoe Sinclair, about as tall, as a pint of milk, and she's created this thing called This Can Happen, which is all about mental health in the workplace. And we, as you know, we were the media partners there a couple of Mondays ago. 1,000 people arrived, and a lot of my friends said, "Well, they just wandered in. What was the ticket price? £5." I said, "No. Guess again. Ticket price was £736 each. Right? This is the commitment to major industry." And as far as I'm concerned, right in the forefront. So this very charming chap wandered over to our pop-up radio station. His name is... Oh, my earphones are just gone completely, so I'm just going to take them off. His name is Carl Simons, and Carl is I want to get it absolutely right, Chief Health and Safety Officer for a tiny little company, I don't know if you've heard of them, Thames Water. Thames Water. Does it get any bigger? Right. So, Carl, welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'm delighted to have you. And then Carl came over and we started chit-chatting at the This Can Happen conference. And he said, "Well, this sounds interesting. Do you mind if I come into the studio?" I said, "I'd be absolutely..." He said, "I just want to see what it's all about." I said, "Yeah, come in. That'd be fantastic." So Carl's come in, and then he said, "Well, I'm not going to speak." And then now he will, which is terrific. So I'm thrilled. And with a little bit of luck, Carl Simons, Chief Health and Safety Officer of Thames Water, is going to get a bit more involved. That's the plan, is that right?
It is the plan, Russ. It's great to be here this morning. And
well, thank you for coming in.
That's all right. I kind of think we can do a lot of good here, and I want to. The proposition is to run a series of business hours where I'll interview senior business leaders, and let's find out what they're doing on the subject of mental health within business.
You say that, and I get this huge, massive rush of excitement. No, and I'll tell you why. Because when Howard Jameson and I just dreamt this up over a cup of coffee at Earl's, a little cafe around the corner, we thought, well, I'm
going to start tallying how many times he mentions the cafe at the bottom of the road.
Already.
Well, bless them. Why not? They've been very nice to us. We don't get a discount, but they've been very nice to us. And so it's really fantastic when you get a company the size, the weight, the gravitas of Thames Water, and then someone so enormously senior within the thing and said, yeah, I get what you're doing. It's a reaffirmation that we weren't raving mad, but also it's just so encouraging, and it makes my heart swell. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That's all right. And I think when I look what's going on in society, really, we've got, key figures speaking more openly about their mental health. You've got royals and celebrities and sports personalities. That's having a knock-on effect with business, because society is speaking more open. And where's society? They're in work. So business leaders, they can't ignore this now. But what I'm seeing over recent years, Russ, is this real change in terms of how leadership within organisations are actually starting to listen to what's happening, and they're starting to implement wave after wave of initiatives that is making a difference in companies and making a difference to people's lives in those organisations. Long may it continue. So I think if we get in here some high-level business figures and start talking to them and hear from them and what they're doing. And you know what? That'll help other organisations who perhaps might want to listen in. And I think we'll be flooded with it.
I think you're 100% right. There's two things. You see, it's an important thing, mental health in the workplace. It's really very important. And there's two strands which, through all the conversations with people like yourself, and people who are making serious moves in this area. Two strands which seem very apparent to me, and people don't always join the dots, so I'd like to see if you agree with me, Carl. One is, it's right and proper that we should look after people, because you've used the word society, which is actually a pretty new word. It was only, I think, and so is the word civilization. It's a pretty new word. So it's right and proper we should look after each other. Put that to one side and put on a commercial hat. It costs industry billions and billions of pounds annually over absenteeism. And the major cause of absenteeism are mental health problems. If you address it, even the most cynical of business leaders will say, if I address this, my bottom line's going to improve. And those to me seem to be the two parallel strands which are not mutually exclusive. They add to each other.
Yeah, spot on. Just this week, I was fortunate enough to be at the House of Lords, and what we were doing was 6 months ago in June, we had an event there where we launched the first Thriving at Work survey to benchmark a national sector. So what that means is I'm not sure if you heard of the Stevenson Farmer Report.
Yes.
And the Prime Minister, Theresa May, then actually instigated Lord Stevenson, Dennis Stevenson, who's a very good friend of mine, and Paul Farmer, and they reached into organisations and started to really look at what was happening within companies and what we were doing, and also the effects on the economy. And you're right to mention that. And what they did a great, Deloitte's got involved, and they said for every person that goes off, it's an average of £1,500 that the company would cost the organisation. But what they also did then was came back with a report, and what it very simply set out in a large report, as you would expect, a set of core standards that they said every employer should be working to this. And then and there were only 6 of them. A good plan, how you create awareness, how you create openness. And then they went on to say there's 4 enhanced standards that companies should be looking towards. So I want to understand what business leaders are doing on this. And when I go back to the event that happened this week, we came back and we had over 100 organisations submit their self-assessment that was then validated from across the national highways sector. And these organisations, when we validated them, over 50% were meeting the core standards that were set out within the Prime Minister's report. Now, that's really encouraging that organisations are already on this journey, and that's got to benefit people within work, and we're seeing that more and more.
Little anecdote, if I may. This week, I went somewhere. I was the only person there. I was sitting there minding my own business, working with 2 total strangers came in and sat down. As ever, I started chatting to them. So happened that they were high-level tech guys, both of them. And one was ex-Amazon and now with a huge company, brains like planets. They were dressed like rappers and they had brains like absolute planets. They were amazing. Absolutely amazing. And one was saying he was with this company, I won't name any names, a well-known tech company, and he left because the atmosphere was so toxic. It was a private company. It was turning over 10 million a year, which should have been a lot more. And the guy who ran it on fear. And everybody was miserable.
That's interesting you say that. Lots of tech companies have a reputation for being quite nice places to work, quite good environments, right? I think of the Google offices where they allow you to have
the slides you see,
the pods and all this. They care a lot about their employees' well-being. So I'm interested. That's interesting to hear.
Here's the thing, James. Let's see if you want to adopt the Amazon principle. I'm just going to ask young producer James Blake this question.
Do I want to be Jeff Bezos?
No,
maybe.
No, you don't. I always loved that joke. Jeff Bezos left his wife, presumably on the neighbour's doorstep. Work it out in your own time. Amazon. Right. James, the Amazon principle is if you know someone who can do your job better, your face is a picture, your duty to the company is to introduce that person to the company.
So you're telling me that I need to basically find my replacement?
Well, you see, that's how I extrapolated that. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. Who the hell would do that?
I think we call it succession planning, don't we?
It's like, I'm going to get stuff. Yeah, I mean, James, go out and find a new young, and you're going to go, the hell I'm going to do that. It's because everything is for the benefit of the company, not the benefit of the individual.
Yeah.
So what my special guest, Carl Simons, is saying is that it's really good that 50% of major industry is adhering to the standards that we would like to see for mental health in the workplace. But it is so important. My late dad used to have an expression, the fish stinks from its head. So this tech company were the people that I was speaking to. The guy ran it on total fear. And when this fellow, who I'd never met before till this week, and I've become quite friendly with, handed in his resignation, the boss said, well, is it me? And the guy said, well, there's no easy way for me to say this, but yeah, it's you. You are stifling this company. I mean, It's successful, but you never praise anybody.
Now, I want to play the devil's advocate here.
Oh, here we go. Go on.
Could it be that it's successful because he is doing what he's doing and he's encouraging people to work?
No. When I say successful, it's turning over 10 million. It should be turning over probably twice that. Because they're hindered, they're hampered, and they're not happy.
Now, you don't know that for a fact. You don't know that for a fact. Well, for a fact. You don't know that. That could be, 10 million, that could be the company firing on all cylinders. And that could be because this guy cracking the whip, he's being very strict and he's getting, the most out of his employees.
Do you like it when you get told off here? No.
I said
you get into a bad state.
What did I say? I said I'm going to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah, well, okay. Be careful. So, your from Thames Water, when we first met, we shook hands. And I said, what everybody says to you, I said, and it so happened because it had just arrived in the post the day before. And you said, hello, I'm Carl Simons, I'm from Thames Water. I said, for God's sake, this was at the conference, I said, for God's sake, I have paid the bill. And which I had. Could you stop following me, please? I mean, how desperate are Thames Water for my lousy little bill that they follow me to a conference? And you said to me, which cracked me up, you said, why is it that everyone I introduce, the first thing they say, I've paid my bill, I'm okay, I've paid the bill.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. But
you're not wrong.
But Thames Water, so people who don't, I mean, obviously it's Thames Water, we all know that. We know the logo, we know the vans, we know the whole thing, we all use it and we love it. But it's so much more than water, because the people that you're dealing with, I'm thinking, well, how does that? You went to the space agency people.
I've just left there now. The UK Space Agency this morning have reached out to us in Thames, and they want us to. They want to learn from us in terms of what we're doing around mental health management within business. It doesn't stop there. Russ, I've been up and spoke to the Virgin group of companies up at Branson's home in Oxfordshire, and spoke to a lot of his leaders on mental health management in business within Thames. Formula One team, Lewis Hamilton's team, Mercedes Formula One.
No way.
Yeah, all of them. It doesn't stop. CEO of all the ports authorities. So I think what we're getting at is when an organisation does it very well, what I struggle with is there's a lot of academics saying what you can and should do. Now, nothing wrong with academics. A lot of what we learn is because of the creative nature of the academics. But there's a lot saying what you can and should do. But very few business practitioners saying, here's what we've done and here's the outcomes we've seen as a result of it. And that's what I present to boards and executives and business leaders, and that's what I want to do here at Men's Radio, is we actually bring them in, and who are the movers and shakers that are really changing the way mental health is managed within business, creating cultures of care within their organisation that is radiating from the boardroom out across all the individuals that are working there.
Who do you think then is the number one shining example of this?
Thames Water. Could you really expect me to say anything else, James?
What did you think is going to be?
Is there a particular, is like Richard Branson? Is he like, this guy really gets it? Or is it the CEO of Thames Water?
I think arguably there's a number of organisations, and I think the really good ones are not afraid to reach out to other organisations and say, hey, come and show us what you're doing on certain topics, right? So I would say a lot of the companies I've gone and spoke to are the ones who are already on that journey, and they're saying, right, we want to learn from others.
We want to improve, basically.
The ones that I think we could connect with are maybe the small, medium enterprise businesses, the SMEs that perhaps might dial into the radio show and say, right, okay, I want to listen to what these companies are doing. I think that'll work.
How many? I've got two questions for you. One is, how many employees are there at Thames? I mean, it must be huge.
Working for or on our behalf, there's about 16,000 at any point in time.
Wow.
We've got about 7,000 sites. However, 2/3 of our business is delivered by our supply chain partners, so our contractors that work for and on our behalf. But they're all wearing Thames Water PPE. The orange gear.
Yes,
they're all driving Thames Water vans. So, they might not be directly employed by us, but we consider them part of our organisation.
So, to dial this back a bit, Carl, when did the powers that be, which presumably must be you, at Thames Water say, this is the future, this is what we're going to do? Because you're, without doubt, you're way ahead of the game, because people are looking at you in Thames Water as the benchmark. Well, that doesn't happen overnight. So how come, out of all the companies in the world, you guys decided this is what we're going to do?
I think if you imagine my role, in most big organisations that are called safety critical organisations, so the industrial organisations, oil, gas, minerals, mining, rail, construction, there's always been a very dynamic and enthusiastic safety model. So somebody goes off work injured, straight away there is an investigation, there's executive learning, there's reviews undertaken. when somebody goes off unwell as a result of work-induced illness, my question back then to the executives and the board was 7 years ago when I started in the company, are you having the same level of dynamic thought? Because if we've contributed to somebody going off unwell, whether physical or psychological, then we need to have a review. We need to have an investigation. We need to have an executive review. We need to have learning. We need to prevent the environment that person comes back into being the same. Because all that's going to happen is you're going to exacerbate it. It's going to get worse. So we have a moral obligation, a legal one, to make sure those in our employment, their health is looked after.
Yeah.
And if you get that through in the executive room and you actually have a group of individuals that buy into it, you can create some amazing stuff. So 7 years ago, we started on that journey. And the things that have been introduced that have really affected us around leadership, competency, upskilling of our people, engagement, the way we communicate, there's a plethora of things that we show people that we've done. And then
that have proven to work as well. I've shown results.
Oh, yeah. From the hundreds of people who were off at any point in time, now down to single figures, as a result of work-induced illness.
Yeah.
And being able to show that to companies that, park the financial benefits for a minute. We can talk about that, the economics of doing it all day. It's easy. The actual impact on people's lives, the moral side of what we're doing and what it means to individuals at work, that they can suddenly bring themselves to work. They can suddenly talk around the water cooler about their mental health as they would their physical health. Do you know, in my company, I've got over 600 mental health first aiders. We are 1 in 10 in the organisation, just about, is a mental health first aider, right? What that means is, for us, we've got a half-day awareness course that everybody goes on, right? But then those who want to go on a 2-day mental health first aiders course, you may have heard of this, and many organisations are doing this. And what I love about it is suddenly inbuilt within all the teams are these individuals who have a passion, and they're there should anybody be struggling. But where it's great is it's not necessarily the person who's struggling that often comes forward. It will be one of their colleagues, and they don't then need to go to the manager. They go to the mental health first aid and say, you know what, have a chat with
this
Jane or Johnny.
A little bit.
I got a couple.
They're being a bit quiet. Go and have a chat.
A couple of hard questions for you, Carl, because
go for it.
We've had companies come in, and mental first aid is a very important thing. Just to be clear to our listeners, you're not training, and I'm not being sarcastic, you're not training them to be psychologists or psychoanalysts. You're merely... They're signposters, aren't they?
Yep, that's a great word to use. And the mental health first aid team, Mental Health First Aid England, are very clear on this. I'm a mental health first aider. Right. So, when I've been approached several times over this year alone, by individuals who are after a bit of advice and guidance. Yeah. So, then I know, because the company has educated us and the company has got a pathway in place, and that's the important bit, is I say, right, okay, you might want to go and have a chat to my clinical team or our employee assistance program, or you might want to go and have a chat to Mind. We know where to go. The other thing is what I use, social media is massive within companies now, right?
Yep.
Yammer. We use Yammer quite extensively within Thames Water. Everybody's on it, just about.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I've not heard of it either.
Yeah, that's a platform, a social media platform that is being more and more used within business. It's like a sort of a Facebook for business, like a WhatsApp for business.
Right, okay.
The difference is, and you see it in LinkedIn, people in society, they worry about posting because of the trolls, the haters, the negative comments. Yeah. Now, in Yammer, in the organisation, there's a natural social etiquette within companies, right? So when somebody posts something, all the comments, all the likes, and people like likes. I like everything, to be honest with you. But but the impact that has on somebody posting, and then they get the likes, they get the comments, well done, great job. That, in terms of self-esteem, lifts somebody. Yep. And it only takes that little lift during that day, collectively across a company where people are posting. We had 8,500 posts put on Yammer last year.
How many?
8,500. Wow. But it was 1.1 million reads. now then. So now you start to understand the impact of social media in business. And if it's all positive, so imagine me, I'm sat there as a chief health officer, and I'm thinking, right, I can use this to my advantage. So we set up a closed Yammer group on mental health first aiders, allowing them to ask questions. My clinical team keep an eye on it and answer stuff for them. Then we have an open mental health group where people can ask questions, and that goes in. But also, I can at any point drop a note to all the mental health first aiders saying, hey, bring this up in your team meetings, by the way. Now suddenly that those individuals become a proactive force. They're not just reactive.
Right.
So those kind of things, when you start to think slightly differently, because they built within the teams. So I can make sure mental health is discussed at the team huddles in the morning.
And you just, by doing things like that, I think what that does is, I mean, it just makes it a conversational norm.
Yes, and then you smash the stigma.
Yeah.
And that's the important bit. We start really taking it on.
You know, I had to write about Men's Radio Station yesterday, and I said one of our main planks, if you like, is to remove the stigma. Yes. That is the word. That is the key word. It comes up time and time again with our guests, removing the stigma, whether it's a professional like you or someone who's telling their own story.
Yeah.
Now, the more cynical amongst our listeners, who are pouring into Facebook Live, by the way, I don't say anything like it. It's absolute deluge this morning, so thank you so much. I'm going to give you a shout out later. Is this, especially in the financial section. So, and this is what people will say, you know what, the problem with all of this is that if, pick a name, Fred Smith says, and goes and says, I don't feel so, I'm suffering with this, that and the other, there is a fear that Fred Smith will then, the person might say, go up to the line manager and say, you know, I'm Fred Smith. Now, the good side is, let's get him some help. The bad side is, and I'm just asking this because there must be organisations which still operate like this.
There will be.
Do you know what? Don't give him that job. Don't give him that big new. You know, we've got that new contract with Blogs and Co. Don't let him work on that. He's not up to it. And the guy gets sidelined.
Yeah.
That's going to take time, isn't it, to eradicate?
Certainly will. And you're right. There's many organisations that are not doing anything. There's many that are on the journey, doing a little bit, and there's lots doing a lot. But I think a good friend of mine once said to me that it wasn't that long ago that the human race didn't know how to deal with cut fingers, and only now are we starting to deal with cut minds. And
ooh, I like that. We're liking that. We're adopting that phrase.
That's not me. That's Lord Stevenson told me that.
Well, tell Lord Stevenson from me. We're adopting his phrase. We love it.
And
not mine.
You know, there's and the other bit, I mean, and this is my statement. So, I always say that it's not mental health. For those with mental illness, it can be diagnosed as a disability, right?
Yep.
It is not the disability that prevents a person thriving in work. It is the environment in which they are placed, right?
Wise words from our very special guest, who I'm so thrilled has joined us, Carl Simons from Thames Water, Chief Health and Safety Officer. You don't get much further up the rank than that. Time to take a little break. Back in a mo.
Thank you, Russell.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Do you want to hang out and really know that you've been listened to? Do you want to debrief and have a laugh and not have to fall down the same hole as every other man in front of you? Then why not go to mensgroups.co.uk, download the Men's Groups ground rules, download the Men's Groups check-in round. There are loads of videos and you can just hit the ground running, growing with other men.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's Radio Station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Hi, I'm Noel McDermott, licensed psychotherapist and host of Wellbeing Wednesdays. During Wellbeing Wednesdays, I talk about all things psychotherapy and mental well-being, offering practical help and advice on issues around relationships, anxiety, depression, drugs and alcohol, whilst trying to improve your mental health and giving you an interesting stories from our guests. Join the conversation, have your voice heard, or ask for advice from one of my many specialist guests. We can try and advise you on your problems. Be part of the conversation. Come and join us every Wednesday from 9 to 10:30pm on Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, this is Russ Kane, just popping in to wish you a very, very happy Christmas from myself, from Howard Jameson, and from all the team here at Men's Radio Station. We only kicked off in January this year, and what a year it's been. So may I wish you a very happy Christmas, happy holiday season, and here's to 2020 fulfilling all of your dreams. Thank you so much for your support. You have been absolutely amazing. Have fun.
Think Therapy Sessions, a new radio show coming soon.
Hear pre-recorded professional counsellors talking live to their clients.
Hear real-life issues being discussed.
Listen to how trained practitioners deal with these issues.
Never had a therapy session before?
Not sure what counselling entails?
Tune in and hear firsthand what a therapy session is really like.
Brought to you by the Men's Radio Station in partnership with the One Stop Psychotherapy Shop and supported by over 200 trained counsellors across the UK.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
What a morning. You never know which way it's going to blow, you know. It's always very exciting. And been chatting to, James Blake, he just turns up. There's no Phil Dave today. Probably why the show is so blindingly good, to be honest with you. And frankly, the fashion level, I'm just winding him up. Carl Simons, who is Chief Health and Safety Officer for Thames Water, unexpectedly joined, and I'm just thrilled. Now, it's gone potty on Facebook Live, and I'm going to do some shout-outs now. Oh, hang on. So, I'm going to say, I've got loads of bits. Thank you so much, Jeanette Malka. Hello to you. Olga, oh, wow. Velikanova. Olga, if I've got that wrong. Sorry. Steve Harris, hello to you. Chris Pearson, Steve Harris again, Mike Cook. Barry J. Allen. By the way, I was just speaking to Carl Simons, and many of you are writing in saying, how do you spell Yammer, which is this kind of internal Facebook situation for larger corporations. It's Y-A-M-M-E-R. Y-A-M-M-E-R. Joan Noble. Say hi to your gorgeous daughter from us, please, and your son-in-law. Go on, all right then. Penny Horner, does that name ring a bell? No, I don't know her. Julia Hersey, always a pleasure. Susan Cathouse Bailey Antonio. That is one hell of a name. Doozy girl. Claire Cargill. Nike Williams, always good to hear from you. Rebecca Hall. Alan Davidson, one of the great photographers of our time. Alan, hope you're well. Victoria Myers. Mitch Johnson, a wonderful broadcaster. Shaz Rocket. Julian Dodds, who I worked with for many years in advertising, who's going to come in as a guest because he's got interesting things to say with John Farrell only yesterday. Victoria Myers, the great Cliff Flewitt, who I worked with at Capital Radio for many years. Tracy Woodward, James Blake, no idea who that is. Chris Bradford, Janice Serling, Anne Baker, Nan, Richard Bowles, Jeremy Garson, Gary Martin, Roger Davenport. It goes on. There's too many people to talk about. Carolyn Stevenson. So thank you all for joining us. Now, once again, the headset playing up. I hate headsets. Doesn't matter how many billions you spend, even at the BBC, not one set of headset works. Right. Our next guest, very, very welcome. Darren Laverty, who is a partner, author, and financial well-being strategist. Blimey O'Reilly, this is a bit grown up for me. Mm-hmm. Partner, author, financial well-being strategist for Second Sight. Darren Laverty, welcome.
Hello, how are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm doing all right. I'm pleased that Phil's not here today, Phil Dave, because there'd be a whole battle of sartorial elegance. He hates being upstaged, and frankly, you've beaten him into a cocked hat, so well done you. Tell us all about Second Sight, if you would be so kind.
Yeah, Second Sight's an employee benefits company, and
what does that mean?
So what we've done, we focus really on making sure that we communicate the financial employee benefits in the workplace and get really it started in pensions.
Carl from Thames Water is nodding very wisely.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm doing my best to catch up.
I do.
Yeah, we just become very good at persuading people to save more money, and we mastered the art of that, and that's evolved now into
face. We've lost him at the term money.
Thinking Christmas shopping.
And the word save.
This is not the time for me to save money. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's how we
planning
to financial
Are you
well-being.
planning my present now, James? I'm sorry to take it away from you, Darren, but
I already have your present.
Oh,
mister.
fantastic!
Okay, I have a great present for Mr. Raskane. Just saying, live on air. Okay.
All right, so I'm not going to fire you today. Right, okay. I interrupted, but it was important because it was all about me. So go on.
Yeah, so we mastered the art of persuading people to save money, and my industry is full of really, well-meaning people out there. They really do mean where they try their best, but they're very logical people. They're very bright, educated people but they don't necessarily know how to communicate very well. And so what we learned was that actually saving, it's 80% psychology.
Really?
20% mechanics. Yeah, because people can make their own decisions if they want to do it. If you can persuade them to save money for the right reasons for themselves, then they'll do it. But our industry tries to prove it logically.
I can hear all our listeners screaming at their laptops and apps and everything, going, but I can't save. I am absolutely... They're squeezing the last pip out of me.
There are a few people, for sure, who aren't paid enough, and employers need to address that, for sure.
There are a few people, for sure, who are...
Quite a few.
Who what? Sorry, James? I'm sorry. Darren, did you hear something then? It was like, maybe it was a cross line. We got a party line like they used to have in the 50s. Right. A few people who aren't paid enough. Darren, but you're an expert. Would you think some people should just be paid on the merit of their ability? Let's shut him up. Right,
yes.
Fine. Thank you very much, Darren. You're top guest. Top guest. So, okay. So in your view, and this is a ridiculously sweeping statement, but bear with me, everybody, in your kind of professional opinion, has a little bit of spare money. That's the only way I can put it, that they can put aside.
The vast majority of people can find spare money if you make it important enough. I'll give you an example, right?
Wow.
Let's imagine you buy a coffee from Starbucks every morning.
Okay.
A couple of quid, at
least.
For a latte.
Yeah.
You say you did it 5 times a week. Now, if you didn't do that, if you just stopped that habit and you decided to...
£40 a month, yeah.
Save that money instead, that works out, the price of a latte, it's about £700 a year. That £700 a year, put it in your pension, it's £1,000 a year. £1,000 a year for 20 years makes a hell of a difference. So, but it's the will behind it that's the key thing. So we can all do it if it's important enough for us to do it. It's the psychology behind all of this which is really important. People got to want to do it. And the only way you can get them to want to do it is they need to see more pain in the future by not doing it than the pain they attach to the behavioural change today. So they need to get into new habits. But again, it's painful to save money today because people think like that. But if it's more painful not to, in their mindset, then they take the easier route, which is to save.
I am absolutely the prime example of what you're talking about, because when I was younger, or even young, everyone said, right, you're going to start your pension scheme. I went, oh, give me a break. Pension, that's like 800,000 years away. I'm not worrying about that. Big mistake.
Yeah, and it's even further away nowadays, because people are living longer, pensions are being pushed out.
Yeah.
So for young people today, it's even further out. But it's just saving generally is a habit. I mean, where you put it, pension, whether you put it somewhere else, it's not so much that. I think those tools and those resources and those solutions are all out there. But I think the key thing is getting people to want to do it for themselves for the right reasons. Because without it, people are not resilient. And the first thing people need to do, they need to get an emergency fund together. Most people in the UK couldn't get their hands on £500 tomorrow. And if they have an emergency...
Is that an actual
That's
figure?
An actual statistic fact.
They can get their hands on £500.
They couldn't get their hands on £500, right? So an emergency fund is there. Not, they say it's for an emergency, but it's more than that. When you have an emergency, when you've got a dental bill, or you've got your engine blows up in your car, or your boiler goes at home, you've got no choice. You have to find that money. And if you haven't got it, you're going to have to borrow it. You borrow it, you start going on a slippery slope.
Yeah.
So that is a great thing for resilience to help people. That stops people going down that wrong road. That can lead to all sorts of places. So the emergency fund's where you start. And ideally, have a little bit of money going away for the medium term, where it can be invested and get some growth, and then for the longer term, which is pensions. And I work with employers, and they've all got the pension sewn up because it's a legal requirement.
Yeah.
But actually, we should be looking at emergency funds, and we should be looking at medium-term savings as well.
It is a mental attitude. I actually had never thought about that. I'd always thought it was a very practical thing, based on, I don't care what happens tomorrow, I'm going to live for today, which is a lot of people's attitude. And the other is, I really can't, with the best will in the world, I can't afford it. And to use your analogy, it's like, well, I'm working my nuts off here. If I want to go to Starbucks and buy a lousy cup of coffee, I'm just going to have to do that because it starts my day off. I don't know. You pick whatever example you like. I then, to use Carl's extrapolate that argument and say this, if you didn't smoke, all right, now I smoke, my one weakness my worst habit is I love cigars. They are not cheap. But I don't smoke cigarettes. I've never smoked cigarettes. I don't like them. So the last time I ever looked at a pack of cigarettes, it was £2. And somebody asked me, could you get me a pack of cigarettes? I went in. I nearly fainted. They're like £11 or something, man. I'm like,
you're showing your age,
James. I know. Oh, no, I know. That's how long I haven't touched cigarettes. So you'd say to someone, I can totally understand your argument because I hate cigarettes. I hate the smell. I hate the whole thing. Right, and obviously they're very bad for you. You said you're spending you're setting fire to £11.
Yeah.
Put that aside. I can kind of see that argument.
And that
totally.
whole I work really hard, I'm treating myself, that's justification for an emotional decision. Every decision we make is emotional.
Yeah.
And I work in an industry which is very full of logic. There's people that are trying to persuade people logically they should do these all for the right reasons, but until that person has an emotional moment for themselves, they won't change their behaviour.
Darren, can you tell us about, I'm interested in the charity clients that you work with. How do you advise them, the charities?
Well, that's changed a lot recently. So one of my partners at work, he specialises with the charity side of things, and I think he's got about 180 charities as clients. And what he used to do was persuade their staff to save into their pensions. And he did a good job of that. But that was paid for by the pension providers, because what they used to do, they used to pay commission. So we could get a fee to go in and do that piece of work. So when that stopped about 3 years ago, the charities all don't want to pay money for that because it's removing money from their good causes. So we've had to come up with some other solutions which I don't think quite work as well. So we've got some digital solutions. I don't think there's anything better than the human-to-human kind of conversation to make things make a difference.
When it's something, I think people stress over money probably more than most things in life. Money is a huge stressor.
It's the number one cause of stress in the UK.
And I wouldn't even debate that fact. I would probably just agree.
And what I like about it is I think there's a lot of work being done around the mental health thing. It's absolutely fantastic. We're reducing the stigma. We certainly are, but we've still got some way to go. But actually, I like the fact I do what I do because I think I'm prevention rather than kill. I think I can stop a lot of people getting there in the first place by getting them to want to take control
more seriously about their money and their finances.
Yeah, and you create some resilience by having a plan, by having some goals, and having some wealth. Start to build their worth, or just start to reduce their debt.
So, do you think more companies could do a lot better in terms of educating their staff? Because it's something we don't do, right? We'll go into a company and we'll get taught technical side of what we do. We'll get taught, legal stuff. Many organisations are doing that. GDPR. I mean, that's the general data protection that everybody has had to do recently. But how often do people go, right, here's your financial education course?
Rarely.
It doesn't, does it?
So it's very much a sweet spot where I work at the moment, and it's very embryonic at the moment. So the well-being piece is out there. Lots of companies now embrace well-being. They've been trying to get people down the gym, trying to get them to eat celery, trying to get them to the whole mental health thing's going very well. But the bit that they struggle with at the moment is the financial well-being piece. And without financial well-being, there is no physical well-being, there is no emotional well-being.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you both this. It's a real bee in my bonnet, and it's a slightly tangential question, but you'll see where I'm going in a minute. Right. Carl's just said there's all this education within industry, but not always about finance, I'm going to call it personal finance, right? My view, and it has been for many years, is that many of the subjects taught in school are absolutely irrelevant and pointless. I can assure you, in my entire adult life since I left school at the age of 18, I have never used sines, cosines, parallelograms, I've never used it, okay? I have never used any scientific formula ever, all right? And I've done okay. Now, twin sons of 21, right? They've never been, and now they're at uni, right? They never had any basic finance training, apart from at home, how to budget, and this comes right back to you, Darren, how to do even the most simple household budget at all, nothing like that. Do you think that this whole process of financial education, which then leads on to well-being, because finance being the number one stressor in the UK, do you think that should be on the school curriculum?
Absolutely, 100%. You've got to catch them early and get them into the right mindset. Where some people go wrong, my industry, again, there's some very well-meaning people, but they're talking about going into schools, but they're talking about teaching kids technical stuff. That's not what you need to teach the kids. The kids can find that out when they're grown up. What they need to learn is what is good common sense when it comes to money. Living within your means. Don't spend more than you have, saving on a regular basis. Save first, spend later. Warren Buffett's mantra. Those sort of that's the kind of thing we need to be teaching kids, the benefits of that. If you save 10% of your income for 20 years, look at your life, what it looked like in the future without doing that. Compare the two places. Get used to living with your money after you've saved the first bit. Save the day you get paid. Those sorts of habits. And it's that.
Give me that one again. Say the last one you just said. What did you say? Save the day you get paid.
Save your money the day you get paid. So to have that. I mean, if you're a good employer, what you can do now out there, we take people's money from their salary for their pension, but we should also provide something for them to save in the short term and medium term, deducted from their pay of their own choice. They need persuading, then they do it, but you do it at work, and you do it the day they get paid. They get used to living within their means, and it's fantastic for well-being.
I never thought about that. That is such a simple and such a great idea, because in many ways, this may sound a little trite, it's painless. It's painless. And also the temptation. I mean, I'm terrible. I'm rubbish with money. I've always been rubbish with money, and it's a huge weakness. And I accept that, and I acknowledge that, and I'm perfectly open about it, I'm not one of the world's great financial planners. Much, much better now. Much better than I used to be. How do you square the circle with this attitude, which is very prevalent? We live in a real throwaway society. Everything's got to be instant gratification.
I'm just looking at your bottled water.
I know, don't. It's filled with Thames water.
I'm going to start to educate you.
It's filled with Thames water. This is actually Thames water. Thank you, James. I am such in deep
I've already
shit
found my first challenge within men's radio station. And
let me just tell you something.
We'll all have a nice bottle of Thames water on the table.
Carl, not that he's biased. May I just tell you that at home, and I swear to God this is true, at home and I am with Thames water, thank God, I only drink water from the tap.
No, then let me...
I promise you, I do. I'm not kidding, that's all I do.
Sorry, Darren, I'll give you a little...
sorry, Darren, about this, but I'm in deep trouble. I need to dig myself out. What happens
is people will quite happily pay £1 for a little half-litre bottle of water in the garage, right?
Mm-hmm.
We provide 450 litres of clean, safe drinking water to your home every day, and then we'll take away your wastewater for that same £1 a day.
Right.
450 litres.
I told you, James. What did I say to you? I can only apologise on behalf of men's radio and women's radio for James Blake for daring to give me a bottle of water so that I could speak.
There is nothing as good a quality as the drinking water.
I'm going to digress. I've got to ask you. I've got to ask you this, because I do drink water. I try and do that. It's always in the fridge, and I swear I don't ever buy bottled water. I never do.
Good on you.
Never do. Never.
We're getting glares from around the studio.
What are you doing? You're cutting out the label. James, the head of Thames Water has seen that you've got bottled water. You, with a pair of scissors, is not going to save the day. I'm trying to use the JCB here to dig herself out of such poo. Right, water used to taste pretty grim. And now it tastes not grim at all. I can't taste it. I can't. It is. That must be a huge investment.
Oh, we're always investing. Over $2 billion a year we invest.
What have you... I'm
going
coming back to you in a second, Darren, but I've never been able to ask anyone who knows this. What have you guys done that now it tastes nice and it wasn't your fault?
Didn't it always taste nice? I've always thought...
James, you are right. We haven't done anything.
Yeah,
and if we did, it would be trade secrets anyway.
They've nothing.
Once you start... I see a glass of Thames
This
on the
is my
table.
theory.
All the secrets.
Carl Simons, head of Thames Water, Health and Safety, I think this is what you do. Somewhere in a secret location is, the Brita filters you can buy like Tesco's. I think we've got one which is 3 miles long, and you just pour a river from somewhere into this huge Brita filter, and then you pump it through your pipes. I think that's what you do.
Well, we kind of have to treat it. The water that comes out of the tap is not what comes out of the river. We have to treat it.
Right.
Yeah. So there's
no,
chlorine involved.
I don't want to be an extra in The Revenant. I assumed it was.
But it's definitely a little bit more complicated than a Brita filter.
I just got this vision. And then every 6 months you have to send this huge team of hundreds of people. They lift this huge Brita filter out. Right. My question to you was this. There was a wonderful film years ago. It was called Live Now, Pay Later, starring Ian Hendry. It was a kind of, not a con man, but sort of lived a bit on the edge. It was an amazing black and white movie. No, I hope this is... Look, there's a blank bottle of lovely All right.
You're getting there, James.
Thank you. James, you're a genius. You've just marvellous. How do you get over that? Because a lot of people think, well, I'm never going to live to be old. And especially young people. I'm kind of looking at James here. The young people cannot see in their 20s, for them, like 35 is ancient. They couldn't imagine life at 50. And they're thinking, well, I want the money now. I want to have a damn good time now, because by the time I'm 50, I'm going to be half dead. That's how the theory goes. Obviously, they won't.
Yeah, I think these are usually stories that people put out there to protect themselves from what they're really frightened of.
What are they frightened of?
They want to enjoy the money. They don't see that there's a pain in saving in the short term.
Yeah.
But there's a bigger pain in the long term by not saving. And until people can feel that process, then they'll just do the easier option. So if you go back, I started in this industry 30 years ago, and I used to be like your life assurance agent, your man from the Pru. And there was 300,000 of us out and about in society and in communities persuading people to save money. In those days, everyone had a savings plan.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
And they weren't brilliant, the plans, but I'll tell you what was brilliant, the habits that got people into. I know people now that never made lots of money that are financially independent by 50 just because they saved from 18, 19, because I persuaded them to.
Do you get a huge satisfaction out of that?
Massively. This guy was working in a warehouse. I know he retired at 47, financially independent.
Get out.
Right? Financially independent at 47.
I'm listening.
Because I caught him at 19 and I sold him a savings plan. And I'll tell you what happened was, 10 years after I sold him this savings plan, it paid out. Right? And I said to him, look, here's your 3,000 quid. I'm sorry, it's less than you paid in. He said, don't worry, Darren, that's got me into a really good habit. And by the way, I've saved more since, haven't I? I've bought a second property, and he's on this road. And he got into a habit right early on to save money. And so he's now financially independent at age 47, and he lives in a paid-off mortgage in Northampton somewhere, having a really nice time. And he's not even drawn on his pension yet because he's too young for it.
I got to be honest, Darren, I hate this guy straight away.
But he also had fun. But what he did is he just saved first. He just saved before he spent, not spent before he saved. Because most of us, if I've got anything left at the end of the month, I'll stick it away. Of course, they don't anyway.
No, because you just spend it all anyway, don't you? Yeah.
And what employers can do, they can automate that, make it easy for people. So education's important, but education's really about persuading, because those life assurance agents out there, go back 30 years ago, they used to persuade people one by one to save. That's all gone because the products were so rubbish, they were all outlawed, and there's nothing left. And what happened was there's kind of a lost generation. But employers are now starting to see that actually there's a commercial benefit to persuading people to become financially resilient. It's good for business, for them to be happy. It has a positive impact on all the other well-being initiatives they've got, and they're happier at work, they communicate better, they're more innovative, they're more creative, if they've got that financial stability, that solid economic foundation. And that's physically and psychologically. And the psychological bit is they need to have future-focused objectives, and a plan to achieve those objectives. And once they're on that path, you turn behavioural change from education into long-term positive habits. And those habits is what will improve everything from a financial well-being perspective. But for me, and I've got first-hand experience of this, I know you're going to save a few lives as well, because you're going to stop people going down the wrong road.
I read your notes and everything, and I sort of had mapped out in my head how the conversation would go. It's gone nothing like the conversation would go.
What did you think it was going to be like then?
No, because I thought, well, I understand you're talking about finance, and that's very cool because it's important, but I had not really embraced the whole psychological side of it. And what is fascinating to me listening to this is the way that you have thought about this very carefully in a much wider perspective than I was anticipating. Now, one of the themes that we deal with a lot here on Men's Radio Station and Women's Radio Station as well is addiction. It's a huge thing. And I don't just mean chemical or alcohol addiction. There is a massive gambling addiction. There's also gaming addiction. We've had one of the first guests we ever had. It's called Cam Adair. And when he was coming on, you remember Cam?
I do remember Cam. I play chess with him sometimes.
What?
Yeah.
You play chess with him?
Yeah, online.
Good to talk about this. This fellow Cam Adair is probably the leading expert in gaming addiction. I read again all the notes. I'm expecting him to talk about gambling. He's not talking about that. He's talking about gaming. Actual, the Xbox and the other series.
I thought he had a gaming addiction, and I thought
James
James was now encouraging him.
No,
he just thought he couldn't spell very well.
So, I'm taking these off. They're driving me mad. So, here's the thing. So, with all your savings and all the things that you're doing, how many people have turned to these wretched online bingo and gambling? Is it a huge issue? And they, because I think it's a huge issue.
I'm not an expert in that in addiction.
That I get.
But I do.
What I wanted to ask.
But there
is your conversations. You meet hundreds and hundreds of people.
Well, it's the debt bit that's created by that.
Yes, that's what I'm getting.
And again, that people need support through that. There are strategies out there. I mean, employers need to support and help. Employers can lend money and get them out of it, but if you do this piece of work, if you lend them money to pay some debts off, to get out of debt and pay it back over time, that doesn't work if you don't educate at the same time. There's no point leaving them to have the same habits or go back to they'll just go back to the same habit. So employers can help. There's ways they can consolidate debts. There's organisations out there that can consolidate their unsecured debt into lower, more affordable interest rates, and then have a plan to pay it off over a couple of years. That gives them a goal. That gives them some focus. They'll get more motivated to come. And it's like a 3-day diet. If you do diet for 3 days and someone says have some chocolate, you can easily be tempted to not to take it. But if you've done it for 3 months or 3 years and you can see progress, you get addicted to progress. You can change that addiction.
Here's a moral question for you, and I'm starting with Carl. You weren't expecting this.
Okay.
Is putting money into the lottery when you go into your Tesco's, Aldi, Lidl, or whatever, is that gambling? I was asked this the other day, and it got very complicated.
It can it? Because we see the lottery as a positive thing because of what it does in society, isn't it?
Yes.
There's so much financial aid that comes from the lottery for sports and, and
good works, as they say.
Funds huge amount of community programs. So I guess people see it as, well, my pound's going towards, or £2 now, isn't it? A line? My £2 is going towards something positive, even if I don't win. So,
but you see, then my next question to you, Darren, is this, because I just do like a lucky dip. £2 is not going to make or break or make, to be honest, £2, fortunately, is not going to change my life. But when people are in front of you and you see them spending a lot, I mean, I'm just in the queue in a local supermarket, it's nothing fancy.
Oh, yeah.
And they go, I'll have £20 on that, £20, and you're thinking, wow, I mean, that is gambling.
Yeah, that's
is there a way, but as Carl says, they think, well, it's going to good causes, I'm going to build a sports field or something, build a hospital. But the chances are they're not going to win. It's almost like you need to intervene, if that were even possible, and you could say, do you know what, instead of spending that £20, why don't you put it aside?
Yeah, I think that's a big job. That's a toughie. That's a real deep-rooted psychological problem.
Yeah.
But the lottery, I think, has got another positive, which people don't think about. If you spend £1 on it a week, it's not a big problem, is it? If you're just buying your groceries and you spend £1, that's fine. But I'll tell you what it does, I think, which is brilliant. It makes us aspire. It makes us focus on what we want in life, not what we don't want. We think bigger. I think it has a positive influence and positive impact on a lot of people just because they spend a £1, go to watch the lottery programme, and they think about what their life might be like if they won that money. But I think that helps people think, I'm going to improve myself. I'm going to learn more. I'm going to work a bit harder. I certainly think having those goals is a big positive.
Do you think it helps people save more money or spend more money?
I think it helps them earn more money and acquire more money.
Why? Because they have aspirations?
Aspirations,
I
think it's a good thing, especially when you do the advertising on telly. It could be you. I think people aspired to improve themselves on the back of it. I think it did more good than harm.
It's a complicated question. I've been asked this before because when we've been talking about gambling, and when people say, "Is the lottery gambling?" you immediately say, "Of course it's not. I'm not going into William Hill and betting on the Kempton Park, the favourite, the 3:30." But you kind of are.
You are gambling.
I know somebody that was addicted, and he turned his addiction to a real positive. Don't know if you know a DJ called Brandon Block.
Yes, of course.
So he's got a little lovely business now. It's called the Happy Hub, or it's called Happy Days, and he's got a Happy Hub. And he turned that story, and he helps people reach out to solve some of their mental and their psychological problems. And it's all done online, so it's a nice, easy way for people to kind of get involved, And I've watched what he's been doing, and I'm fascinated how you can turn a negative like that into such a positive and a force for good.
My special guest, we're in conversation with Darren Laverty, who's partner, author and financial wellbeing strategist for Second Sight, and Carl Simon's Chief Health and Safety Officer for a little tiny company called Thames Water. I'm Russ Kane, back in a mo.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Do you want to hang out and really know that you've been listened to? Do you want to debrief and have a laugh and not have to fall down the same hole as every other man in front of you? Then why not go to mensgroups.co.uk, download the Men's Groups ground rules, download the Men's Groups check-in round. There are loads of videos, and you can just hit the ground running, growing with other men.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free, and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's Radio Station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Hi, I'm Noel McDermott, licensed psychotherapist and host of Wellbeing Wednesdays. During Wellbeing Wednesdays, I talk about all things psychotherapy and mental well-being, offering practical help and advice on issues around relationships, anxiety, depression, drugs and alcohol, whilst trying to improve your mental health and giving you an interesting stories from our guests. Join the conversation, have your voice heard, or ask for advice from one of my many specialist guests. We can try and advise you on your problems. Be part of the conversation. Come and join us every Wednesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. on Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, this is Russ Kane, just popping in to wish you a very, very happy Christmas from myself, from Howard Jameson, and from all the team here at Men's Radio Station. We only kicked off in January this year, and what a year it's been. So may I wish you a very happy Christmas, happy holiday season, and here's to 2020 fulfilling all of your dreams. Thank you so much for your support. You have been absolutely amazing. Have fun.
Think Therapy Sessions, a new radio show coming soon.
Hear pre-recorded professional counsellors talking live to their clients.
Hear real-life issues being discussed.
Listen to how trained practitioners deal with these issues.
Never had a therapy session before?
Not sure what counselling entails?
Tune in and hear firsthand what a therapy session is really like.
Brought to you by the Men's Radio Station in partnership with the One Stop Psychotherapy Shop and supported by over 200 trained counsellors across the UK.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Absolutely. This is Men's Radio Station. We're on air 24 hours a day. A lot of people say, oh, do you just broadcast 3 hours? No. We are on air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're like the American Strategic Bomber Command. We're never off air. And So you can tune in. You can download the app. You can download it on Apple. It took us forever because we didn't know what the heck we were doing technically, but we worked out. It's a miracle, right? So thanks to all the technical team who worked with us all over the place, all over the country, actually. The unsung heroes. So you can download the app. You can get it on if you've got an Apple phone.
Apple, Amazon, any phone that has access to the App Store, the Google Play Store, or any alternative to an app store on any operating system.
And so you can thank you, James. That almost sounded like you knew what the hell you were talking about. I was quite impressed. I thought, he's good. So you can download the app, which means you can walk through the street and sit in the train and you can just listen to the shows wherever you want, or you just listen online, www.mensradiostation.com, and of course for women's it's www.womensradiostation.com. And if they wanted to phone... play it.
You want to
play my magic jingle.
0203-290-4411.
I will play that as many times as I want, mainly to just hack Phil Dave. Why he hates it so much, I don't know. I love it. Thank you to David Mindel down in the south of France. He's lived there for years. He's not stupid. One of our top songwriters who did that for us just as a favour, and then it was recorded up in the north of England with a brilliant duo called Steve and Jax, who do most of the jingle and adverts that you've ever heard on television. That's all these guys.
Can I just say that before we begin, we swapped headphones in the advert break.
We did.
Oh my God, were these loud?
Were they?
Yes.
I'm like the Alan Freeman of... It's an interesting thing. 20 years in the flying eye really screwed up my hearing. I got to be honest with you. It didn't help.
Are you sure it's not the fact that you probably had your headphones on 10 the whole time?
Well, it was deafening. I love it. Somebody the other day said, we were listening to you. You sounded a bit different than you did. And I said, well, one, it was, a million years ago. And two, I wasn't getting my head smashed against the ceiling in a small plane. I'm actually sitting in a professionally nicely done broadcasting studio. Special guests are Darren Laverty from Second's Sight, talking about saving, and a very interesting and take this the right way, a surprisingly intellectual and sort of all-embracing way, much different than I thought, and unexpected special guest, but hugely welcome, Carl Simons, Chief Health and Safety Officer of Thames Water. And it's not embarrassing that we were drinking bottled water.
No, we weren't. It was bottled. It was water from the Thames water tap.
From the beautiful tap. By the way, Carl, as you're here...
Yes.
Right. It is apart from hot water and bath water, it's all drinkable, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
No, I'm asking because I sometimes you'd see a sign, not drinking water, and I think, well, what is that water if it's not drinking water?
Well, I'm not sure what that is, but anything that comes out of your tap that comes from us can be drink.
So that common myth of don't drink the tap water from the bathroom. It's not good for you.
So in the old days, they used to store the water up in the loft, didn't they? In the big. There's nothing wrong with it going in. You mean because it still comes out of the ground, out of the pipes that's supplied by the water industry. But I think in the old days there used to be a worry that perhaps anything got into your loft and into your static water tank.
That was something
like a dead bird.
Yeah, I had a friend who had pigeon-flavoured tea for several weeks.
Oh, that's disgusting.
No way. Until he found out why.
This is extra piquant. Loving this. I know exactly what you mean, Carl, because one of the house I had years ago had that huge tank, and then you think, oh, God, what is that? I think that's Lord Lucan and Sheargar at the bottom of that water tank. No wonder it tastes disgusting. It's interesting, because I like to ask these... Is that all right if I ask you these technical things?
You can, yeah. I shall try to answer them, yeah.
People like to... People
wonder.
People do wonder. People like to know these things. And as you say, you see your vans and your guys and your 16,000 people. We see them every day. And we're just interested. I've just got a natural curiosity for life. Now... This being commercial radio, how do we get hold of you, Darren? And tell us all the contact details and everything like that. You can plug away, feel free.
Okay, well, I can be contacted on LinkedIn, Darren Laverty 1 on LinkedIn.
What happened to Darren Laverty too?
I don't know.
Was he cloned from you?
Or Darren Laverty without one?
Well, yeah, without the
No.
one. Yeah.
So I'm there. I've run a group on there called the Workplace Financial Wellbeing Group, actually, which has got about nearly 1,000 people involved now, which is nice. And look, there are lots of ideas sharing in there.
Does that work for you, LinkedIn? A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't use LinkedIn." I use LinkedIn because it's meant up on the writing side with publishing and authors. It's been very interesting.
I make it work. I work it hard.
I agree.
Get the
I think
message
it
out
works
there.
well. Yeah.
And the other way, you can go to www.second-site.com and you can find me there.
And is that just the ordinary hyphen? I have to be so pedantic.
Yes.
It's not an underscore.
No, it's it's
www.second
second in full in letters. Second-site.com.
Okay.
You can find me there.
Okay, that's interesting. And it's I'm just putting it out there. So it's individuals as well as corporations.
Yeah, so the whole business looks after, it does wealth management on one half of it, the other half is corporate. So we look after workforces. And so our aim is we run their employee benefits, but my part of the role is to improve their financial well-being, and measurably as well, and show the positive impact that has on other well-being aspects of the business, and also on the there's a commercial reason for doing it, and you need to better show that.
Why and you've already alluded to it, so you've opened the door, so I'm walking straight in.
Mm-hmm.
Why were some of the plans that were sold, just in your words, rubbish? And how did they get away with that?
Well, the only way to motivate the persuader was to pay him a commission. And so the charging structure on those plans wasn't very good if it ran short term. And so therefore you could pay money in for 5 years and then stop it. But that remuneration for the persuader, which was needed to get him to do it, actually gobbled up the value of the plan. So they were outlawed. And so if you want to do a savings plan now, it's like an ISA. There's no commission built into that, for example. So if you want advice on it, you have to pay a fee. And so people aren't reluctant to pay a fee. So the products are nowadays are fantastic, but nobody's taking them out. In the old days, they were not brilliant because they're expensive if you didn't run them long term, but at least you were doing them. And so I think sometimes when we look at it, I think sometimes we threw the baby out with the bathwater when we changed everything. I think there should have been more. Maybe rather than go fees only, it should have been you've got to be very transparent about the options and give consumers an option. And I think we have more savers now. But it was if you don't pay the persuader to persuade people to save, why would they do it? And so there's nobody persuading anyone to save anymore. The financial advisors.
Is that because interest rates are so low and everybody's saying best time to borrow is what we hear all the time?
Well, interest rates in deposits from banks are very low, of course. So you wouldn't leave it there if you were investing. You get it on, in the stock market, for example. But
that's gambling.
Yeah.
No, it is
controlled, managed properly.
No. I'm not saying it's the Wild West, but you're taking your option is your share is going to go up or your share is going to go down, or it'll remain stagnant.
Yeah, and as long as it goes up and down within a volatility that you are comfortable with, that's the key thing. If you want to get a good return, to beat inflation, you need to invest. Simple as that. If you leave it in the bank, it will go down in value because traditionally inflation outperforms the bank interest rate.
Yes.
So it's going down in true value. But you need that for an emergency fund, instant access. Don't get me wrong, you need that there.
Do you have a list of things that, in your professional opinion, are I'm going to put it under the thing of wastes of time, or things people can think they need that they could do without? Have you come across? Because, as I said, you must talk to hundreds and hundreds of people in the course of a working year. And is there a theme like, oh, well, I'm just picking this out. I have Sky, and I have this, and I'm not saying I do. I mean one. And they say, and you might say, well, how much are you spending a month on all of this? And they go, well, that's about 50, 60 quid. I don't know. And you go, really?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on this. This is sort of Martin Lewis's domain, to be fair. But certainly a lot of the banks now are analysing your expenditure. If you ask them to, they'll look at your bank statements and they'll run a report for you, and they'll tell you that you're spending X at certain retailers, for example. It's just a question whether
mine's in Mount Street.
It can be quite scary for people. Sometimes you need that shock to change. Most behavioural change usually comes with some kind of shock, something that makes you change, makes you think. So I think that's a good thing. We're getting there slowly. A lot of these things that help people budgeting, they take a lot of input. People can't be bothered. Yet the younger generation, though, much more happy to do that.
Are they?
Yeah, because they're much more tech savvy.
Yeah.
We can't be bothered. So I'm in my 50s, and the thought of inputting all this data onto a screen or on my phone, get fed up halfway through it. But younger people, they're much quicker. My kids, they get on their phones, they can type things 10 times quicker than I can with their thumbs.
If only James could.
I'm great with tech. I don't know if you've not noticed.
Do you it's like the Jean-Michel Jarre here. What are so many screens? Do you save?
I have a...
I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm putting you on the spot.
I do save.
Do you really?
Yeah. I kind of what Darren's talking about, why I have a direct debit that comes straight out of my bank account whenever I get paid. That just takes X amount of money.
Where does that go?
Into a savings account.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You're a dark horse.
Good on you, James.
I thought you weren't. I thought you wouldn't.
It's not much that goes into it.
No, it doesn't matter.
It's a trickle.
Don't play the sympathy game. You get nowhere with me whatsoever, mate. That's interesting. I didn't realise you did that. That's very clever.
Well, I would like to own a house one day, and in London that might be when I'm 70. So,
if
so you're
really
doing a lifetime ISA then?
I did it with my dad. So I don't know all the technicals,
right?
But it does happen every month.
Because you get tax relief on a lifetime ISA. You can use that for saving for a deposit.
There's another thing you can do, isn't there? It's help to buy ISA.
Yeah, just finished last week. But the lifetime ISA is very similar. You get the tax relief.
Yeah.
But 90% of people, when they do an ISA, they do it because they get attracted by the tax relief. But they leave it. There's two types of ISAs: cash and there's stocks and shares.
Yeah.
So they put it into a cash account, and then they leave it there. So they're getting tax relief on 1%. I mean, who cares? So with the stocks and shares ISA, at least it will grow a bit, and they'll get the tax relief on the growth.
Instead of being, a quid, it could be at least a tenner or something.
Well, also, don't forget, if the government will contribute to it as well. So you've already got some growth on the money, and then get it in the stock market funds, which are nice and middle of the road managed type funds, and they will then grow quicker than typically grow quicker than the bank deposit accounts over the medium term. But most people, the biggest mistake they make, they go for tax relief, but then they leave it in cash. And tax relief on bugger all return is bugger all tax relief.
What would you advise if somebody was starting off and say if they had a little bit of money here? While you're here, I might as well ask the question because everyone's saying go on. Something that's short to medium term.
I think you can't go too far wrong with an ISA, especially if you're young, and you can get the tax relief from a lifetime ISA. You can get a little bit of growth on the money. But make sure you've got an emergency fund in place first.
See, this is the thing.
Which I don't have, I have to say.
Right, okay.
I don't have that.
And they say maybe 3 months.
Yeah, that's my emergency fund right now.
You know what his emergency fund? Hi, it's James. I go James who? James Blake.
James who?
It's a bit boring, but it means, I'll tell you what, it's less boring than being stressed out about money in the future.
I think it's a great thing, especially in terms of mental health. Because it just gives you a security, right?
I don't think it's boring at all.
Yeah. Well, half of mental health problems are triggered by money worries.
Yeah.
90% of mental health problems are exacerbated by the financial issues. And you try and deal with your finances when you're feeling like that.
Be careful just to try and talk into the mic. Sorry.
We love your enthusiasm, but you're doing a Ginger Baker solo there. Big shout out to Nettie Baker as well. Thank you so much for not getting me the tickets for the tribute concert.
But the number one conversation that I have with my friends is about money. What is it? Do we have enough? Do I this, that? Can I? So I think having something put aside would make such a difference.
I can recommend a book. It was written many, many years ago.
Let me get a pen. Hang on.
A pen? It's old school.
And it's called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Right.
If you want to book
How old is this book?
Right. It was written during
I reckon it's probably 50 years old, the book. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. If you want a quick book summary, go on YouTube and type in Richest Man in Babylon, and there are some little cartoons and some just summaries of that book. If you just follow the concepts, there's 6 concepts in that book, very simple to follow. It's a life changer. I knew a friend of mine that read this book, and one of the things it says is save 10% of your income from day one for all of your life.
Yeah.
Anyway, he saved even more than that. He got into the habit of it. I mean, the guy's now under age 50. I know for a fact. Last time I was aware, he had something like about 30 houses, and it's just an ordinary guy just saved.
All in Babylon.
he's very. I don't think his life's completely balanced in every way, but financially, he's in good shape.
First step, and I like it to go into the gym. When you're in the mode, a lot of people will probably get this, that once you start going to the gym regularly, right, it's very easy to go to the gym. getting started
is
the
impossible.
That's the difficult bit, because it's like, oh, it's too cold, it's too wet, it's too dark. I've got to get there, and
you need an emotional moment to make a change. So I went to the doctors recently. I had a checkup. You get to our age, you want to have a checkup every now and again, and he said, right, Darren, he said, your cholesterol's on the high side. I said, really? He said, yep. He said, and he looked down at my belly and he said, right, you need to lose 3/4 of a stone. You need to stop eating red meat. You need to
did say that.
Cut out dairy. He said, no saturated fat. Do you know what? And I knew all this before, didn't I? Of course I did. But when a doctor tells you that if you don't, I now don't eat meat in the week. I've gone from cow's milk to soya in my tea. All those little tweaks. But it took someone scaring me a bit to actually make the change.
Darren, biggest question of the day. Any cheese?
Bit of parmesan occasionally on top of.
See, this is a worry. But then I don't understand. I know it's getting away from finance, but
but it's all about habit.
But it's about well-being. So
yes,
I don't care. That. Then you see loads and loads of stuff, especially at the moment on social media. Do the keto diet. This is great. And I'm thinking, well, that looks like it's going to kill me. So I do a little bit of that, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here, but I like cheese. But then I don't eat bread anymore. I went to the doctor because of a car crash with my back, which has been a lifelong thing. And he said, oh, by the way, you're pre-diabetic. I went, I'm sorry, what?
Wow.
And I went there for it. I'd had some blood tests months ago, never had the results. I'd forgotten all about it. He said, yeah, just got your blood test back. I said, can I just say something, just interrupt you for a sec? When they did bedside manner course at your doctor's school, were you ill that day or something, or what? Thanks for breaking it so gently. Anyway, obviously I had to turn everything around. Now the numbers are absolutely perfectly fine.
Good.
So it is
You're
that...
looking well on it.
Bless you, very kind. But it is that emotional kick in the head when you suddenly thought, geez, I don't want to be pre-diabetic.
The good question then, isn't it? What is the emotional, to use your word for us, what is the emotional kick in the head for financial? Well, because people are already in
debt. I know
debt.
exactly what it is, and most people in my industry don't know what this is, and I do. I'm really pleased I know, because it's changed a lot of lives. People have to have a credible vision of the future. You need to be able to show them, like, they need to be able to look into a crystal ball and see the future on their current plan. And when they can see it, and if they see it and it's not where they want to be, and it doesn't look good, that is the trigger. So
when you say current plan, you mean here's what's going to happen in the next 5 years
on a program.
should you continue with your current level of spending and debt?
You might even go out further than that. You might go out 20 years. But everyone's on a program, whether it's a good one or a bad one. Everyone's got a habit, good one or a bad one.
Yeah, I like that.
And if they're running this, whatever program they're running, if they can see the future on the current program and it's not where they want to be, that's their moment. But most people are not looking beyond the next paycheck.
No, that's right. And it's the same with the physical side until the doctor says, here's what's going to happen.
And you can do that. There's a thing called cash flow forecasting. Like, it sounds a bit technical, but and it sometimes needs someone to help people get their head around it. But there are lots of different ways of doing it. But if you could just plug in some basics about your finances and then let the computer take you forward and visually see when you're going to run out of money.
But the question,
it's a shocker.
The big question,
and then it makes you change.
With our physical and our mental, we have a doctor. You mean now? Yeah. Who's the doctor for the finance? Is it the bank that pulls you in and goes, right, with your current spending rate, you are going to, here's the reality.
But we don't like, I mean, joking aside, we don't like banks. As my dad always used to say, bank, they lend you an umbrella in the summer, and the moment it starts raining, they want the umbrella back.
Yeah, the doctor is a financial advisor, or a financial planner, I should say. But again, most people, ill-affordable for them. But so now the onus is coming full circle back, and it's coming to employers, because going back many years ago, the employer used to provide everything for employees. They used to give them the financial stability. They gave them, bulletproof pension schemes, life assurance. They just worked there until the end, and then they then funded their retirement. That's all gone. So employers, they can't afford to do it now because people live so long. They used to die at 67 after retiring at 64, and that was what happened. That's why the pensions, they work.
Am I going to make it to the end of the show?
People living so much longer now.
Please.
The bottom line is what employers, their responsibility now, and it's now starting to become a commercial case, is they need to empower their employees with knowledge and with motivation and with tools to take personal responsibility. And that's the magic.
Here's a question for you both. And this actually stemmed, Carl, from the This Can Happen conference. And I had somebody took me aside. We had there was a big conference, 1,000.
I was there.
People. You were there?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming over and saying hello. Anyway, so...
I think I did, that's why I'm here.
So...
You forgot me.
I wasn't there. No, I wasn't. Do you know, I said to James and I met at 6, we were up at 5, we met at 6 in the morning round the corner, we were set up by 7:15. 8 o'clock we started broadcasting, and I'm sitting there, I said to James, I hope somebody comes, I don't want to be knobby no-mates. And I think I got off my backside at 6:15 that night. We didn't stop, it was a sensation. But somebody said this to me, and I really, because you deal with a lot of corporates, you are a huge corporate, Carl, Thames Water, obviously. And somebody said, wait a minute, 90% of the workforce in the UK is made up of what we call small companies, in their terms. For me, it's a big company, but it's like from 2 people up to 250. That is the definition of a small company.
Yep.
2 things about mental health in the workplace, which comes into money as well, because you're putting lots of responsibility onto the corporates. You've said it's the job of the employer. 2 things. One is, in a small company, and I use the example, it just came into my head, motorcycle repair shop, something that's small, under an arch. Maybe there's 10 guys there, women as well, whatever. One is how to get the boss, because it's usually a family-run firm, to get them to think, oh, not another layer of bureaucracy. Please, I've got enough to keep, I want to keep everybody going. I want to keep everybody employed. How do I now bring all this mental health? So that's one side. So that could be a slight negative. The plus side, and I hadn't thought about this until this chap pointed it out, and I thought, he's absolutely right. What do you have in a small company? You have a family ethos. Doesn't mean you're employing your children, but you go in every day. Hi, Fred. Hi, Ted. Hi, Barry. Hi, Susan. You know everybody. You go out for drinks. It becomes a bonded family unit, and there is a common will, a common goal. And often in big corporations, that goes out the window, because there's no way the boss of, pick an example, WPP, right? He's not, and even on the health division, they've got 1,000 people. So there's no way you're going to know everybody as they come in. You'd have to be a genius to try and do that. So it'd be great to sort of cross-pollinate that small business attitude into, that feeling, that warmth that you get. And also at the same time, assure them this is really good for your business, because it's going to help your bottom line. Because even if you've got 8 to 10 employees, if one of them goes off work with mental health problems, whatever it might be, or stress or anxiety, doesn't mean they're chewing the scenery. You've got that situation. What do you think about that?
I think that it's really good for well-being working in a small firm where there's a good relationship and community. I get that. The big companies are actually starting to do stuff on this. They've got budgets for it. I think it's actually the SMEs is the challenge at the moment. They it's on their radar, but they're not actually taking it seriously enough yet. They aren't allocating budget for it. They want it all done for free. And by doing it for free, whatever they get for free has got a sting in the tail. They look at well-being solutions out there, but they usually have, if it's free, there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's a sting in the tail. It's usually that there's a financial services organisation looking to get access to the employees to sell them something.
My view would be some of the small family-run organisations are already doing it and have been doing it for a long time. It just hasn't had a label on it.
And it didn't have it wasn't a strategy, it was just part of their culture.
Those companies are looking after their people. They know the business is all about their people who deliver the products or the services. And some of them that I have seen that are really good in terms of dealing with this. And it's fantastic when, all right, we're putting a label on it, strategies and programs and plans and maturity models. But, we could learn a lot from some of the SMEs out there, in my opinion.
I'm glad you said that, because it actually hadn't occurred to me. And I can't help it. I'm very curious, and I do like that. Special guest, Darren Lafferty, partner, author, financial wellbeing strategist for Second Sight. Once again, Darren, thank you very much for coming in. Very insightful, no pun intended. Tell us how we can get hold of you again.
www.second, in full, -sight.com. secondsight.com.
I think they're worth looking
Or
at.
I'm on LinkedIn, Darren Laverty 1 on LinkedIn.
Don't forget the one. It's important. It's okay. There is only one.
Brilliant.
Darren Laverty.
Thanks.
This is Men's Radio. This is Men's absolute pleasure. Thank you. You have an open door policy here. You're very welcome back. I'm Ross Kane with James Blake. This is Men's Radio Station. Back in a trice.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Do you want to hang out and really know that you've been listened to? Do you want to debrief and have a laugh and not have to fall down the same hole as every other man in front of you? Then why not go to mensgroups.co.uk, download the Men's Groups ground rules, download the Men's Groups check-in round. There are loads of videos and you can just hit the ground running, growing with other men.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's Radio Station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Hi, I'm Noel McDermott, licensed psychotherapist and host of Wellbeing Wednesdays. During Wellbeing Wednesdays, I talk about all things psychotherapy and mental well-being, offering practical help and advice on issues around relationships, anxiety, depression, drugs and alcohol, whilst trying to improve your mental health and giving you an interesting stories from our guests. Join the conversation, have your voice heard, or ask for advice from one of my many specialist guests. We can try and advise you on your problems. Be part of the conversation. Come and join us every Wednesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. on Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, this is Russ Kane, just popping in to wish you a very, very happy Christmas from myself, from Howard Jameson, and from all the team here at Men's Radio Station. We only kicked off in January this year, and what a year it's been. So may I wish you a very happy Christmas, happy holiday season, and here's to 2020 fulfilling all of your dreams. Thank you so much for your support. You have been absolutely amazing. Have fun.
Think Therapy Sessions, a new radio show coming soon.
Hear pre-recorded professional counsellors talking live to their clients.
Hear real-life issues being discussed.
Listen to how trained practitioners deal with these issues.
Never had a therapy session before?
Not sure what counselling entails?
Tune in and hear firsthand what a therapy session is really like.
Brought to you by the Men's Radio Station in partnership with the One Stop Psychotherapy Shop and supported by over 200 trained counsellors across the UK.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really
Rapid lunch.
talk.
What a nice fellow. Darren Laverty. I always find it fascinating. Russ Kane here, by the way. Men's Radio Station, on air 24/7. We really are. We're on air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I tell you what always fascinates me. When somebody comes in who is an expert in their field, and it's a field you know the square root of F all about, and suddenly they make it come alive. They're able to communicate their enthusiasm on a subject that might as well could be dry, could be uninteresting, but it isn't. And that, I think that's a skill, and I really love that. Before I introduce everybody, James Blake rocking the deck. What are you doing? You got a picnic there? What the hell's going on? You got sandwiches, you got grapes.
To quote Phil Dave,
Yes.
we do this show during lunchtime,
Right,
and I'm very hungry.
Hey, I don't want to be rude, right? Formula One races are usually lunchtime. You don't see like Sebastian Vettel sitting there eating a sandwich, right? He's working. Right?
I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying. Right, I'm going to say hello to. We've got so many people who have joined, so thank you so much. Nick Miller. Hello. I'm going to say hello to all of you because I think you deserve it. Well, I'll get through as many as I can, but thank you so much for joining us on Facebook Live. James will give you all the links in a second. Nick Miller, hi to you. Ian Foreman, Cheryl Jackson, Tony Demure. Tony Demure, one of the top comedy writers in the country. Tony, thank you so much. Sarah Walkden. James Blake, I don't know who he is. Rusty Egan, a legend on the London club scene, one of the greatest DJs, total legend. Rusty, buy something else other than the black T-shirt, mate. Helen Boccaro, Kevin King, Dave Brock, Paul Morris, Alexandra Lichtenfeld, who will be joining us in 2020. Always a pleasure. Chet Zaman. I like that. That sounds like a country and western singer. I like that. Chet Zaman, thank you. Stephen Pullen, a great fellow. Paula Akers, Tina Holt, always lovely to hear from you. Sean C. Bryant, Sarah Galton. Sarah, absolute pleasure. Sarah, the daughter of one of my absolute heroes, the great writer Ray Galton, as in Galton and Simpson. Sarah, thank you for joining us. Linda Morris, always a pleasure. That wasn't so great to see you at Francine's the other day under those circumstances. Julia Hersey, Len Newham. Len, lovely to see you again. Aliza Rieger. As in Janet Rager. Marvellous. Aliza, lovely. Johnny Pod, Roberta Depper, Lee Mack, Nancy Lippold Ingram, Paul Hollins, Melvin Burwald, or as I like to call him, Melvin Frank Burwald. We were article clerks together, can you believe it? Ian McAdam, Ingrid Haskell. James Blake keeps popping up. Hazel Beanie, as in Lloyd Raymond Beanie. Claire Montebello, Joyce Wood, Louise Clifford, hi Lou, lots of love. Freddie Valentine, Manna Begum, Anna Marie Conley. Anna Marie, it's a raid, Joe. Give my love to the great Brian. Dave Brock, Nike Williams, Penny Horner, sending a big hug to you. So many others, too many to take on. Right, thank you so much for joining us today. Very exciting. Joseph George Michael. You can take your jacket off. It's so hot. Are you boiling in here?
I don't feel hot.
Are you really?
Yeah, absolutely.
How are things on your planet? We're melting in here. You're wearing a padded jacket, no? Wow. And so this is so musical because you're expecting James Taylor.
Yeah, any moment now.
Not Sweet Baby James, obviously. that would be, and Joseph George Michael. So for a second, when I read the notes,
George Michael Joseph.
George Michael Joseph. So for a minute, I thought, well, blimey, George Michael, that would be like spooky and freaky, and James Taylor, that would be a thing.
Welcome to the late show,
the
radio station.
Well, I'm Howard Hughes with the unexpected. You're a father and son duo. Well, we're a father and son single at the moment.
That's James Taylor.
Right.
And his dad, Michael Taylor.
Right. Okay. So you're are you the former comedian? Is this right? Who am I talking about?
No, that's Michael Taylor, that's the former comedian.
Right. Okay. So
I'm
completely lost.
Okay. So do you want me to fill you in? I'm the singer.
I'm going from my notes. So I'm thinking, James, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, okay.
What the hell? Just wandering for the street or something?
Well, he'll be here in a minute.
Right, okay.
I'm the actual lead singer of a show called Fast Love.
Fast Love?
Yeah, James and Mike Taylor are the producers.
Right.
They're from the company called Entertainers, and they put all the shows out all over the UK.
Right.
Fast Love is one of them, which I front, which is a George Michael tribute.
Ah, okay.
And we're on at the O2 tonight.
So you are the... I'm beginning to see the look now. Now I'm now I'm beginning to see it.
Really?
But it was... No? Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're totally right, yeah.
So... Yeah. And so you become...
I front the
Tonight,
show.
Matthew, I'm going to be...
Yes.
George Michael?
Yeah.
Have you always loved George Michael?
Totally. From day one.
Why?
I just loved his music.
Yeah? Do you do the Wham stuff or the later stuff?
Both. Yeah.
I love the Wham stuff. Great pop songs.
Yeah, well, we're singing all over theatres and arenas all over the UK.
But you don't like the George Michael stuff?
I can't say. I'm sitting with a guest who's in punching distance of my face.
I love the Wham stuff.
Could you not talk with your mouth full? I'm dragging your mother.
I will come back shortly.
Yeah, like Christmas time would be good. Right, that's so rude. I can only apologise to our guests. We've got like senior people here, and you are like some errant child talking with your mouth full.
Let's be clear. The Wham part of George Michael's career was nowhere near as good as the later part of George Michael's career. In my opinion.
Says you.
I'm allowed opinion. Hello.
Right.
James Taylor has arrived.
He's come off the street, you see. Here he is. we knew he'd arrived.
What's he brought with him? It looks like a Black & Decker drill.
I think so.
What is it?
Careful of the wire,
Yeah, mind the wires. Talk about live radio. You can take your jacket. Don't tell me. No, he's going to... If he says, I'm not hot, then these people are not right. There's something wrong with these people. So, hang on a minute. Right, so joining us now is...
James Taylor of the father and son duo.
And Michael Taylor is his father, and that's the father-son duo, yeah? They thought I was ex-comedian and ex...
Well, it wasn't.
You are quite funny. Hello, sorry I'm late.
Did you bring a note?
I didn't bring a note. I have two small pets.
James, make a note on the register. Guest was late.
No doctor's note, no,
nothing.
I do feel quite bad.
The thing about it was,
note from your parents
to me, don't you dare be late. And I'm thinking,
Now, the big disadvantage you have is that you did not enjoy the hospitality of our green room.
I didn't.
Run by the goddess of the green room, Deborah Blake. So even if you think that the output of Men's Radio Station is rubbish, the green room hospitality, frankly, is second to none.
And she's knitting a scarf.
And she's mending my scarf.
Oh, mending your scarf.
Because the label came off.
I made sure my star was here. So that's I was insistent that he was here on time.
No, so you're producing. Am I getting this right?
Yes.
I'm playing catch up here, which is embarrassing in front of an important guest.
It's Michael Taylor and James Taylor. They're producers
of Fast Love, which is a travelling show.
Yeah.
Right. What's this got to do with mental health and well-being? Who booked these people? I'm liking them. I'm liking... Are you eating again? I swear to God.
Carry on.
So...
The lovely people at the entertainers are giving away 300 free tickets to members of the police, firefighters...
Now we like them. Now you see you've set out your stall, James. Had you said that, I would have understood.
So I missed the starting point here. So
the starting point, I can recap. 1, why is he wearing a padded jacket when it's 3,000 degrees in here? 2...
Why
is he George Michael? And 3, why are you late? That's the starting point of your section of this show on Men's Radio Station. Right. May I introduce you to Carl Simons, who is head of health and safety at Thames Water, which has 16,000 employees, 16,000 people wearing their uniform, driving their vans, and giving us delicious, nice water, which we will be enjoying from now on.
Are they listening in?
Yeah, all 16. Yeah, they're there.
Will be soon.
Right. So why are you doing this initiative? Because it's great, and walk us through it.
Okay, so my company, Entertainers, we produce 1,000 shows a year around the world.
Do you?
Yes. And
you've never contacted me for my stand-up.
You're always welcome whenever you want.
Whoa.
So Fast Love was my first show that I created 3 years ago now. Joseph is our star singer. Does a wonderful job. He's as committed as you'd ever want from a lead. We're now in 18 countries with Fast Love. So we tour around the UK and around the world with the show. It's a big, it does.
This is fantastic.
And then we also have one of our arms, Brentwood Live, which is our theatre in Essex. It's 2,000 seats. So tonight we have Jimmy Carr there. On Sunday we have Russell Kane and...
Not me, that's the other one.
You're welcome, anytime.
No, thank you. No, that's the other Russell Kane. It does get confusing.
Oh, yeah, you're Russ Kane, of course.
Yes, I am.
You're Russ Kane.
Yes, I am.
Maybe if he wears that scarf, people would just laugh anyway.
I've not seen the scarf.
I can hear you, by the way. I can hear you. I am in the room. I am in the room. He's upset.
Below the belt.
So that is... I was going to make it a pleasant interview and chat, but you've set the tone. George Michael lookalike, and fine.
So with the arena, with our theatre, on Sunday night...
Is that your theatre?
Yes.
Wow. That's terrific.
So we've given away... 300 tickets to NHS staff workers to say thank you for our local community in Brentwood.
Love it.
Have they all been taken up?
They have. I hope so. I'll be there on Sunday counting them.
If you will be. You're not a nurse. Get out. You're not in the ambulance. You're not pleased. So if people wanted to do that, is it too late for you to give them a shot?
They've gone. They've
all gone.
They've all gone.
That's a fantastic thing to do.
And last year with Fast Love in Brentwood, we did the same thing for NHS and police and fire. So I think it's nice to give something back to the community.
Totally.
Is it just because of Christmas, yeah?
Yes.
Is it a Christmas thing?
Yes.
Right, okay. Nice.
So it's nice to give back. So we do that quite often.
I think that's true. When did you start in Thames?
My father started 30 years ago.
Right.
And I joined it 5 years ago, and Fast Love was the first show.
What were you doing before? I'm always fascinated how people...
I was an actor in Los Angeles, and before that I was a model. So do you know Jermaine Greer?
Just a bit.
So I was the boy when I was 18. And then went on to do a TV show called Being Mary Jane in LA with Gabrielle Union. Yeah. And then I came back. And
had you had enough of it?
Yeah, it broke my heart. It's a tough old game. Mental awareness, it broke my heart. I couldn't get out of bed for a year.
I'm going to have to talk to you about this before we talk about Fast Love, because you insulted my scarf, so you can just sit on the bench there, fella.
I'm quite happy.
I'm like the Jose Mourinho. You are on the bench. I'll call you when I want to transfer. Here's the here's
Your
the
wife's
thing.
doing a good job, by the way.
Pardon?
Your wife is doing a good job.
It's not my wife. That's not my wife. She's James's mum.
Okay. Yeah, slight mix-up there.
Slight mix-up, because that would make James my son. Trust me, he is not my son. He's employed. You are really digging.
You really,
fella. I don't want to be rude. I'm going to have to speak to Carl and get some Thames water engineers, because the hole you're going to be digging yourself, they won't be able to get you out of it with even one of their escalators. All right. This is interesting, because I didn't know this. You were an actor. You went out to, I spend a lot of time in LA, but then I'm doing my stand-up show there, but I'm not working per se, so I just enjoy it. I'm not trying to hustle and bustle around, because it's a brutal town.
Oh, yeah.
It's a mining town. As my friend who's lived out there for 30 years says, it's a mining town. If you're not, I'll explain why. If you're not in television or film, there's no point in being there. Absolutely no point.
Yeah, that's a good way to
There it is.
There's my scarf. It's done. Thank you so much, Deborah Blake, who is not my wife and he's not my son. Just to clarify.
Praise be.
Thank God for that. So, you went out there full of hope and everything else. And you thought, I can make this. I can do this.
I went out there at 25. I moved to New York and got into theatre. I got the lead role in a play off Broadway called Nikola Tesla. I played the lead. And then from that, springboarded, went to LA. I thought, I'm quite an industrious bunny.
Yeah, I can see that. No, I can see that. I'm not being rude.
So I went out there and I gave it all I had for 5 years. I got my green card and did a number of TV shows and I thought after the TV show it would.
Any we'd know?
I was the main love interest with Gabrielle Union on Being Mary Jane.
Okay.
Yeah. And it broke my heart. And it really truly there was an audition process. So I nearly got a big show after the TV show I was filming in Atlanta. I got this chance. I got a new agent, and the levels went up for me.
Yeah.
And we were in a zero called Daisy of Life, and it's a soap.
I know Daisy.
Yeah. So it was a soap, but it was a 5-year contract. It was decent money.
Yeah.
And you go through all the rounds, like the X Factor, really. You go and meet one person, then you go back and meet 2, then 5, then 10, and then you're on film, then all the directors are there. And then the final is you do a screen test. Yeah. So I go along, and I've just come off a TV show, so I'm feeling confident. And they say there's 8 boys in the final. And they put you in your rooms, you're there in the afternoon. And
with the other 7?
Separate rooms.
Oh, it's
that's
long
good, corridor.
Because I've done auditions where you're with everybody else, and that is just brutal.
Oh, that was around before. So I've gone
vile.
So they put you on their individual rooms, and the 2 stars from the show were meant to come read you your lines. And get you, that was my final sort of my stamp of I'm ready for this audition.
Yeah.
You know. So I was 8th. So I'm waiting, and no one come to me. And then I find out that they've run out of time, and every other one else got to read with these 2 ladies on the show, but me.
Oh.
Then they switched the order around. So rather than being last, I was then first. So within a 5-minute period, I found out that they wasn't coming to see me. And then they were like, and through the door, and action. And I froze.
Whoa.
And I was so ready, but because I didn't finish off my process of getting ready for it, I was like, so sorry, can I go again? Nope, next. And it crushed me. And after that, I had some really, really big movie auditions, and I'd go in the room and freeze, and I couldn't unblock that. I'd freeze and freeze and freeze and freeze.
Wow.
And I burnt, then my agent stopped calling me, and then you start getting the auditions come through, and it's a cycle of spiraling. So I was broken. I couldn't get out of bed. I was depressed.
You literally couldn't get out of bed.
I couldn't get out of bed.
You see, this is we have a show here called Healthy Acting, which is done by the great Tim MacArthur. We've had some James Dreyfus has come on. All sorts of people have talked about it, and it's something I'm very, very interested in. The disparity between the public face of an entertainer and what they're really doing, and the stress than that can cause. And although Carl and I have been talking about mental health in the workplace, and you normally think of corporations and industrial, the workplace for many people is a television studio, it could be a radio studio, and it certainly could be theatre. And that process that you've just described of being absolutely hammered into the ground until you've just lost it's common.
Yeah.
And it's a real thing. It was
soul destroying. It was lonely, and I lost all my confidence. So my father was like, "Come home." So I
was there. Did you think to yourself? I'm sorry. And by the way, we've got a rule here on Men's Radio Station. If you don't want to answer the question, it's not Radio 4. I'm not John Humphreys. It's not because it's because we want to help other people saying, "Christ, that happened. That happened to me." And a lot of people who are listening to the show also are in the entertainment industry as well, and they have a million stories to tell, and all of them are interesting. So, did you think? You know what, maybe if I get some, I don't know, I'm putting words in your mouth, forgive me. If I get some therapy, I mean, you're in LA, you're tripping over therapists, aren't you, Chris? I'll get some therapy, I'll get some help and I can regroup. Or was it like you were so broken?
I was destroyed. I mean, I tried the therapy, so I did the, everything I could, yoga to psychology to a therapist. I did everything I could to try and get back out of that box. I then moved home. This is the ironic thing. So I moved home to my family business, and I was there, and no one ever called for me. I didn't have a role in the business. We had 6 staff and did 300 shows a year. And I started with a rebrand of our business, and it's called entertainers.co.uk. But for some reason, my dad had moved it to Easy Theatres, so I moved it back to Entertainers.
Easy Theatres.
I know.
Sounds dodgy.
I rebranded our business, and
well done. Dad, bad idea. And
I started getting going. And I had a girlfriend, it was about a year later. I had a girlfriend at the time who was not right for me now. Like I realised that, but she was great at sort of being very, not dominant, but very strict and very
focused.
She pulled me round. And whilst working for my dad the first 6 months, my acting agent in London called me up and got me a TV show audition. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I was like, don't care, I'm done.
Yeah. Is that because you were just so fed up with
I was so done with it.
Yeah.
So she talked me around for it, and so did my girlfriend. And I did a self-tape of me. It was a show called Queens, and I was playing James Bothwell, the King. And I did a self-tape on my bed. It was September like the 10th. And I think I moved back in the April, but left all my stuff there. I went back to LA in like end of August. I had a 2-week hurrah, got all my stuff back, and then came back. So I've been back about a week.
Yeah.
But whilst the time I was back, I was doing stuff with my dad. And I got this lead role in this TV show called Queens. Oh.
Wow, that's the first.
His microphone.
That was the microphone. The enormous. In case you thought I'd just been shot, God forbid. The microphone just. This is so good when we've got a very important guests in. James is going to sort this out. I wonder what the hell happened there. Let's chat amongst yourselves.
I'm going to cut your mic, Russ. So use mine.
So carry on.
So I got this TV show. I got this role. So I didn't want to do it, but I got the lead role. So I moved to Spain.
Yep.
And I learned to sword fight and to horse ride and all these
sword fighting.
I had to learn the whole thing.
For the role.
Yeah, I was playing James Bothwell, so Mary Queen of Scots.
Yeah, got you.
And we filmed for 5 months in Spain, and it was great. I loved it. I got back somewhat my passion for it again, and I got back my confidence. I nailed it, and it was really good, and they were very pleased with me. And that came out in December, and it was meant to come out on the BBC in the following spring.
Yeah.
But they got wind of the film being launched, Mary Queen of Scots. Yeah. So they dumped it. So they put it out in. They put it.
No.
You couldn't make it up. They put it out dubbed into Spanish on TVE in Spain. So it ran in Spain.
All your work down the drain.
Down the drain. So by that point, I was like,
you thought the hell with this.
Enough.
Yeah.
And simultaneously with that, I had the idea to put together my own show, Fast Love, and with Joseph, and I tried to. Obviously, Joseph's been a singer for many years, doing what he does with the George Michael. But I tried to use all my training and skills over the years to help him come out and really, make the theatre show what it was. And Joseph will speak to you now.
So, having been through all that, right? Because my children are in the performing arts world.
Really?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, 14 and 12.
Yeah.
And they're on stage a lot, and they're with a Swish of the Curtain Theatre School, where we live, and they're my son's in Peter Pan this year, my daughter was in Shrek last year, but they love it. And when you look back at your journey, you were in the performing arts, I take it all the way through school and all that, yeah? When you look back, would you turn around now to people and say, don't do it, or would you turn around to them and say, did you really enjoy it when you were moving through school and that side? In other words, what I'm saying, would you say, because of your experience, didn't go the way you wanted it to when you were older, it's not a reason not to do it as...
No, I think that I'm thankful for that whole life journey.
Yeah.
I found a wonderful girlfriend, and I'm happy that I've ever been, and I'm in a stable relationship. I've got a great job, but I produce shows. As I said, we now do 1,000 shows a year and have 40 staff.
How is it working with your father?
I'll come to that next.
No, you come to it.
No.
Now,
But
it's my show.
I want to pick up on that last point with that point there. Would I recommend children to do it? I wouldn't be where I am now without those experiences and that training of being at the front.
Because my kids have had to get used to the, not ruthless, but the way you're told no. You know, the relentless auditions, and you don't get the parts, and the parents are on the other end saying, that's part of this deal, you've got to pick yourself back up and off you go again. That becomes very much the norm, and mine have got a bit sensitized to that in terms of they just accept very easily now actually when they don't get parts.
Yeah.
It's a very, the thing about it is it's a very brutal business.
Yeah.
And there's only so many parts, and there's thousands of people who want them. And everybody's, some of it's luck of the draw. You had a run of really lousy luck. That was bad luck. That was, especially. But and I think people are always. It goes back, Carl, to what we were saying about the lottery, and what our former guest was saying, is that it gives you kind of a hope, and
gives you something to aspire for.
And so people go into it and say, well, but look at this one, look at Helen. I pick any actor or actress you like. They go, look at them, or on music, look at them. They're a huge hit. It could happen. It could be me. Could be me. And so that's what drives people. But you have to get over that constant rejection, because it will be constant. And if you're not prepared for that, it's not an industry for you. I don't mean you. It is not an industry for someone to go into.
I guess certain industries, the job market's like that, isn't it? When you think the amount of interviews people go through in certain markets to get.
Not quite as extreme. I mean, I think like footballers and Formula One drivers and actors and singers, and I think in those remits of jobs, like for the volume of people that want to do that kind of career, to the people that get through to doing it is,
Have you totally? Then I'll come back to my original question. But have you got over, genuinely deep inside you? Have you got over that feeling of that you couldn't get out of bed? Is that you look back and you think that was a different guy?
No.
No, that's very honest.
I respect that honesty.
Yeah, that's really honest of you. I thought you were going to say, yeah, sure.
No. I'm very industrious, and I get a lot done, and I move very fast. But I have my moments of a morning where I just can't. Like I can't. I still now I have 40 staff in my office. I do 1,000 shows a year. I'm the father to a lot of people. Now Joseph, I'm with him every day, and I respond to him, and I'm there if he needs me on the phone. But at times, no. It still knocks me for six sometimes, where I can't move, and I think I've got. For the first time in my life, really, I've had a solid relationship, which has been my foundation. I've got 2 kittens, and I've got my girlfriend, and I've got my house.
The cats.
I have 2 beautiful little cats.
And that's the end of the conversation. Thank you very much for coming in. Mystery man with big stuff. All right, well, let's move over to the fact you like cats.
So that solid foundation for me has helped me to. The rest of my life is so crazy. That is my anchor. And even with my day job, I go out and I'm friendly and I talk to everybody. I don't really drink, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke. And my dad was a comedian for many years, and he's the same as me, and I guess I got that from him. Where outward facing, I can be the most charming, without any, but inwardly I like to shut myself off.
Do you realise how far you as a person have come? And Carl, do you realise how far we've come as a society, that there you are, all these employees, all of these shows, and you're and certainly with someone who's a star of one of your shows who relies on you.
Yeah.
And yet you are honest enough now, as we approach 2020, to say, do you know what? I'm a human being, and these are my plus sides, but I still have these, and I own that, and I'm happy to admit that, and there's no stigma attached to it. That's a huge leap, because even say 5 years ago, if somebody of a parallel position to you, you go, I'm absolutely fine with that, because you would see it
as weakness,
as a sign of weakness. You would see it that somebody was saying, this company, this entertainers, the guy's a bit shaky at the top. Now, that's thankfully, through all the work that everyone's doing, is moving. It's moving.
I can see that. But it's still, I think it's like I didn't have a problem with drink ever, but I went to a SLA meeting to see it, just to have a look. So when I was in LA.
I went to a what?
The sort of like Alcoholics Anonymous. I looked at that.
Okay.
It was never a thing for me, but I had friends that were following. And I was just curious at the time, and for me, that's never been an issue. But what I meant with that is that you're always going to be around the pressure. Like with alcohol, you'll always have it around you, and I think that in some weird ways, it's coping mechanisms. To that's what I'm trying to get to with it. It's I can't stop stress. I can't stop pressure. Like I still have to. Like with alcohol, you can not drink it. Mm-hmm. I can't stop.
Well, we have so many experts who come onto men's radio and women's radio who would argue with that and would give you, and I'm happy to effect an introduction. James has got the whole database. Seriously, it's a genuine. No, you're smiling.
In my job, I work.
I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that I do is.
The sound's gone wrong. It didn't turn up. They want their money back. It's too hot in the room. You wouldn't have.
I've been there. We had a music management company and a record label back in the day. My partner and I. Trust me, I understand the demands of stars. Speaking of which, you're on stage. By the way, now I'll come to my question.
Go on.
Working with your dad, a lot of people say I would rather shoot myself than work with my father. Do you have a filial thing, or does he take you totally as this guy's doing a great job?
Me and my dad have a wonderful relationship. I love him dearly. He's the closest person in my life.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I moved in with him when I was 13, so he brought me up. We argue a lot. We have different views. Where I think let's go left. He thinks go right. I'm much more let's do this and wow. And he's like no, let's be more consolidated. And as I've got older, in the last 5 years, I'm much more. Not in line with him, but I see the pitfalls he was trying to make me avoid so much more. But it is tough, and we do argue. And the last few months, my dad's 70 next week, and
young.
But he's had to sort of step back a little bit, and the workload on me has increased a lot more.
He's a lovely man, his dad.
Oh,
but I work my dad. We do work very well.
And
together.
on that very uplifting note, we're going to go for a little ad break here. This is Men's Radio Station. I'm Russ Kane with James Blake rocking the deck. Our special guest back in a mo.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Do you want to hang out and really know that you've been listened to? Do you want to debrief and have a laugh and not have to fall down the same hole as every other man in front of you? Then why not go to mensgroups.co.uk, download the Men's Groups ground rules, download the Men's Groups check-in round. There are loads of videos and you can just hit the ground running, growing with other men.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's Radio Station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Hi, I'm Noel McDermott, licensed psychotherapist and host of Wellbeing Wednesdays. During Wellbeing Wednesdays, I talk about all things psychotherapy and mental well-being, offering practical help and advice on issues around relationships, anxiety, depression, drugs and alcohol, whilst trying to improve your mental wealth and giving you an interesting stories from our guests. Join the conversation, have your voice heard, or ask for advice from one of my many specialist guests. We can try and advise you on your problems. Be part of the conversation. Come and join us every Wednesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. on Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, this is Russ Kane, just popping in to wish you a very, very happy Christmas from myself, from Howard Jameson, and from all the team here at Men's Radio Station. We only kicked off in January this year, and what a year it's been. So may I wish you a very happy Christmas, happy holiday season, and here's to 2020 fulfilling all of your dreams. Thank you so much for your support. You have been absolutely amazing. Have fun.
Think Therapy Sessions, a new radio show coming soon.
Hear pre-recorded professional counsellors talking live to their clients.
Hear real-life issues being discussed.
Listen to how trained practitioners deal with these issues.
Never had a therapy session before?
Not sure what counselling entails?
Tune in and hear firsthand what a therapy session is really like.
Brought to you by the Men's Radio Station in partnership with the One Stop Psychotherapy Shop and supported by over 200 trained counsellors across the UK.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
I'm so sorry, George Michael, if you could stop yakking because we're live on air now. And if you'd like to have a business meeting after the show, you'd be more than grateful, but not in my time.
It did look really interesting, though. I'm not going to lie.
Their business meeting. He's doing it again. I'm so coming to your show and I'm going to heckle. This is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to heckle. Right. So let's just recap who is here. James Blake, as ever, or as we like to call him, Nobby No Mates, because we've got the new configuration of the studio,
no friends,
and no one likes you. James Taylor, whose real name is Joseph Sampson. Joseph Sampson. No, it's not now. That's what you said to me.
No.
Star of Fast Love. Is that all right?
Joseph Sampson?
Yes.
You said James Taylor?
No, no, I didn't. No, James Taylor is here, not the singer, the entrepreneur. Jeez. I want better notes.
We have it on tape.
I want better. Whose side are you on? Are they paying you salary? Are these guys paying you salary?
Better notes, sir.
There. Right. James Taylor, who has 1,000 shows on, plus Joseph Sampson, who is the star of Fast Love. Far more importantly, head of health and safety at Thames Water. Carl Simons, who's a special, unexpected and delightfully welcome guest. Right, on to you, Mr. George Michael. When did your obsession with George Michael start?
Right from the very beginning. I loved all his music from Wham up to the later era of George, and I just sung on a karaoke once and somebody said you sound exactly like George Michael, so
do we have any examples?
We do have some.
I would like to hear a clip of this man who I'm going to go along to and heckle. I want to hear what it. I bet it sounds brilliant. Actually, all right. Let's.
Never know.
We have 3 clips. We have Freedom. We have Careless Whisper, and we have Jesus to a Child. Any preference?
Not Jesus to a Child, which depresses me. Let's have Freedom.
Let's have Freedom. So this is Freedom coming up.
Blimey O'Reilly.
Is that who you sing?
That's you.
I should hope so.
No, it's a serious question. That is an absolute doppelganger for George Michael.
I couldn't tell if that was real or not.
Is it real? I can't believe it's not butter.
So
I can't believe it's not George.
Sounding like him or looking like him? What came first?
Sounding like him, to be fair. I looked a bit like him.
But that's uncanny.
That is uncanny.
James Blake, boy wonder producer. Play another clip. I loved that.
I mean, just to see you dance again, it'd be worth
There'll
it.
be no more dad dancing in here. Just play another.
Do Jesus to a Child. That's my favourite. I like that one.
All right, here's a guest.
Yeah, I love
here's a guest.
So this is George Michael Joseph singing Jesus to a Child.
I'm absolutely blown away. It's really weird because we've known each other 10 minutes, right? And you get this kind of vibe going on, and then you hear that and you go, that is out of left field. That is off the hook good.
Thank you.
That is really off the hook good.
Thank you.
That's amazingly good. What's the foot now? before we get into the nature of the show, who are you texting now? You're the busiest man. Is somebody's shower in a dressing room not working?
You know, it's like
James, there's no towels in my dressing room.
My
co-star. That's very good. My co-star's got flowers, and I don't.
But Russ, if it's not on social media, it didn't happen.
That's very true.
That's precisely.
And you wouldn't believe the things I get.
No, I would.
Every week.
I've been there. I would.
It's just like
what's the most bizarre one? I've always wanted to no. You must get something crazy, no? Like I want to.
Some of the riders are pretty special. Some of the star riders on the big names. Joe's is quite easy. I just give him some water and say go. and buy him a KFC once a month. You know,
give him a jacket.
He's a singer burger. Go and sing some more.
Who doesn't love a KFC then? Let's be honest.
Yeah, quite happy.
The best one we ever did, and I have to just tell you this quick story. When I was at Capital for 20 years, we did a thing on Capital Gold, and there was on the same bill was Diana Ross, Shirley Bassey, Rod Stewart, and a couple of other people. And nobody big. It was just 5 of the biggest acts you could possibly imagine. It was just tremendous. And Shirley Bassey is always great for a laugh, and Diana Ross is the very definition in Encyclopedia Britannica of diva. You have no idea. So they're in porter cabins behind the thing. So Diana Ross's people see that Shirley's got a TV. And Shirley's the most normal person you could meet. She's hilarious and very naughty, but very funny. So Diana Ross's people go, she's got a TV. Oh, we got to get a TV. So suddenly a TV arrives from nowhere. Wait a minute, Shirley Bassey's got all these flowers. So suddenly Diana Ross has got to have all these flowers. So we thought, what can we do to really ramp this up and just make it impossible? So we got hold of the Parks people. We got hold of the Parks people and got one of those park buggies. You know, the electric buggies? And we got a chauffeur's uniform. And you have to understand that the porter cabin to the stairs going up to the stage was maybe 30 feet, if that, right? And we got a chauffeur's uniform outside, and they came out. She's got a chauffeur-driven cab to the car. It was just.
I've seen them.
It was just fantastic. Now let's get back to George Michael. As we're talking about pressures in work, right? This is someone that you obviously loved, you admired him as a person and an artist as well. Both.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
So how did you view the demons that he was fighting? What's your interpretation of that?
What, as far as I'm concerned?
Yes, as far
as I'm concerned, George and me have got totally different lives, or he had totally a different life to me. So I could never really relate to what he was going through. You know, as James mentioned before, I've never drunk, I've never smoked, I've never done drugs in my life. So, you know, and obviously George.
Are you sure you're both in entertainment?
Yeah,
I know, right?
People say that. You know, it's strange, but
birds of a feather.
I don't like drinking. I've never liked beer or lager, you know. So I don't really class myself as a drinker. I've never ever touched a drug in my whole life.
Is that because it doesn't interest you? Because I'm actually the same. But is that because I'm a control freak? So if I'm not in control, how can I possibly run what I'm doing?
Yeah, to be honest, I can never understand why people would want to do it to themselves. That's that's the block for me.
And boredom.
You know, why would anyone want to smoke and breathe in something that would damage you? Why would anyone want to do a drug that eventually is probably going to?
Well, last week we had Scott, surname I can't remember, a really excellent guy, and he was like a pop star. Then went on tour. He was with
Scott Schechter.
Scott Schechter, correct, and he went from being very successful with Stock Aitken Waterman to being homeless. And a complete druggie and alcoholic on the streets of Los Angeles.
Wow.
And he was sitting where you are now, Carl.
Yeah.
And I just met him by chance. I said, I really want to have you on the show if you want to talk about it. Because he turned his life around completely. He looked tremendous. He's been totally sober for 11 and a half years. Was it 13? Can't remember. I think it was 11 or 13. He looked in great shape and he was positive and he'd turned his life around. And I said, well, you know, you had a choice of whether you wanted to do the drugs or you didn't want to do the drugs, and you decided. And he said, because first it was always there. Okay, so you've still got a choice of saying no thanks. And then he was bored out of his skull, and the touring was boring him, and everything else was, and he needed the highs.
Yeah.
Now, when you come off stage, you know, you obviously love performing. If you can produce stuff like that, you've obviously loved performing. You couldn't do that without love.
I totally get what you're saying, and I totally get, in some ways, I kind of understand why they would turn to drugs to keep that high. because obviously when I've been doing a show for Fastlove and it's a great atmosphere and you're loved by everyone.
Yeah.
Then I go home to an empty house and then the big come down happens, zonk, and then I can feel that for a couple of days.
How do you deal with that? 'Cause I've got
I just
personal
deal with
experience.
it. I just have to deal with it. It's as simple as that. I look after my 2 sons. I have them on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they. I just love that. That's my thing,
But the stage is like the drug, isn't it, for you?
Yes,
that's
I'd
how
say
you
so.
get your fix,
exactly.
your high.
Yeah. And when you see the people absolutely loving what you do, it just
and is it?
Pushes you on
I suppose looking forward to the next, knowing that the next stage
That's right.
performance is going to come.
Yeah, every time
keeps
it feels
you
like the
in the
first.
mindset of I can't wait to get back out there.
Yeah.
I guess where things go wrong is when suddenly that might not come.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If I look at it, you mean in the workplace, for example, it's bad. You mean suddenly people losing their job can suddenly have a massive impact.
Huge.
And I suppose for performers and yourself going through what you did in terms of your Los Angeles experience, not having it come along can suddenly create the dark moments.
I had that kind of experience, but then I kind of did something in the way of years ago. I wanted to put something back to the community, so I volunteered for the police for 19 years as a special constable. So that also gave me something else to do.
It's very interesting. You're both you, Carl, and you are very disciplined. You're ex-army.
Yeah.
Which and take this in the right way. There's an atmosphere about you. There was something, and I couldn't do it. And when you just said today, on the second time we've met, I'm ex-army, that makes sense. I can see that. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no. I mean that in a very positive, because you're a very composed guy. And you also are a very, I know we're kidding each other earlier, but you're a very composed guy. I weaned myself completely off the need for that adrenaline rush because we used to have 4 million people listening a day. The show was exciting. It was huge. And then I would turn off my transmitter and go into absolute silence and walk across usually a rain-soaked tarmac on my own. And to go from all of that, you're giving away £100,000 in a competition, 4 million people listening, to nothing. At first I had problems with that, and I thought, no, I weaned myself off it. And then I realised we used to think of Party in the Park. There was 120,000 people in the audience, all paying. Sold out in 57 minutes. Can you believe that? 120,000 people. And on the 5th time I did it, and I went on, and my heart rate didn't change, and I thought, time to find a new challenge. Because I'd weaned myself off it so much. And even now, if I do my stand-up show here or in LA, and people say, oh, you must need time to unwind. I go, no. The moment I walk off, I'm me. So when I'm on, I'm that person. And the moment the curtain comes down, we would have the quietest, most normal conversation, because I won't allow myself that adrenaline rush, because I think it's addictive, and I didn't want to open the door to having that need for it. So I love my work. I love everything that I do. I do it with a passion, but it's because I enjoy it. I don't, that's why I was asking you about, when you just entertained an arena, everyone's going crazy. The lights go off and you see actually the floor of the arena's tatty. You see the real, you see behind the scenes. And it's a come down if you're not careful.
But like I say, Fastlove is my drug. So, that's what I
well, how does it, what's the basis of the show? Go on, plug it. Plug it away.
Well, basically we've got a big lineup. We have, occasionally we have a screen. We also have George Michael saxophonist with us, a guy called Ed Barker.
It's the music. Everyone wants to celebrate the music.
Absolutely, absolutely. I get that. I'm wondering if there's a narrative.
Yeah, the first thing I always say to people, look, I'm not trying to be George Michael. I'm not him. You know, and I think the fans respect me for that, because I'm really not him. All we're trying to do is do him proud. And I think, fingers crossed, we do a good job, and the fans have accepted us really well.
So is it? Forgive me because I haven't seen it. Is it a concert, or is it a sort of play?
It's a concert.
It's a concert.
How many songs do you do?
Well, we do 2 hours. And,
good grief!
Yeah,
that's a big show, fella.
I'm pushing for a third, but I wear them out apparently. So
with a break, I take it there's a break in the middle of this.
There's 20-minute break in between.
James, management hint. extra KFC. You've already said that.
I've got to watch the pennies, you know. But now even hot wings were 3 for £1, and now they're 2 for £1. So you got to look at that.
James, it doesn't have to get one KFC box. The other James block you is then go and get something cheaper.
I think the thing is,
you're ahead. He thinks he's winning.
With myself and James, we've kind of like, you know, I've certainly learnt a lot off James because obviously through his background.
Yeah.
And we kind of like meet in the middle. I mean, I annoy him and he annoys me, but then out of that,
out of what? What's the main bone of contention between you two? I'm always fascinated.
Probably just something as simple as song choice. You know,
because you were just now very adamant of what we were going to play, and I find that song beautifully sung, but I find it kind of quite a downbeat. It's not exactly, you know, toe tapping tune, is it?
We've just rebuilt the show for next year, so we've got a brand new tour in 2020. It's called the Everything She Wants tour. So we've just worked together and rebuilt the playlist.
I wouldn't have agreed to that name.
Sadly, it's not your call.
Exactly.
That's how management works.
Yeah. So the show next year,
money gets you honey. You see, that's it.
So the show next year, we're really excited about it. We launch it in January in Warrington. We go around the whole country. You know, we're playing lots of arenas again, Nottingham and Newcastle City Hall and Southend, Cliffs Pavilion, and so we're going.
I know them all.
All going around the whole country. Yeah. I mean, we sold, just to give you some sort of scale of what the show is.
Yeah.
Last year, we sold 150,000 tickets across Europe. We're now in 18 countries, and I was in. So Joseph's my star for the UK.
Yeah.
I've just launched it into America and Canada this month.
And did you do a big audition? Let's find out.
So I've got 2 great leads. Well, actually 3 great leads now that have come in. I've got Europe as well. So I've got Fast Love, UK, Europe, and America.
Talking about that, you like to know about things?
No, I do. I'm horribly curious.
I can't do these shows because I don't like flying. And I would have from day one. I feel like I'm missing out.
Take a boat?
So
we tried everything.
I don't like taking a boat in case a plane hits it.
So just to give you some ideas, to give you an idea of scale on this.
I've not got enough therapists on our books to even cure that one.
Fast Love took off in the UK, and
We're still on the plane theme.
I booked a whole tour of Australia, and then after I booked that and confirmed that, Joseph then informed me that he won't fly.
Yeah, they sent me to all kinds of therapists.
You are the Mr. T.
I am
a fool here, boy.
I had Sir Richard Branson come to the show in the West End last year. Who's a family friend of mine.
Who came?
Richard Branson.
Oh, right.
And spoke to Joseph about doing one of the Virgin flying courses, but we're yet to do it. But so
what is it? What is it about flying that terrifies you so much?
You know what? I had a first flight in 1982, and I went with Dan Air. It was a 727.
Say no more. You've said Dan Air. Yeah. You've said Dan Air. We don't need to know anything else.
The plane just kept dropping, and I thought, is this flying? It was just like...
Was the air steward flying?
Just one.
You haven't been on a plane since?
I have been on a plane since, but I've got to be honest, I absolutely don't feel right.
So really, if they ever brought back the flying eye, I don't have to worry about you in the audition process. That's the plus.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
1.5 million miles.
But having said that, it's still a goal I'm aiming for.
And are there anything you're doing to try and conquer it?
Well, I think we've tried everything.
We've tried hypnotherapy and everything like that?
We've tried that.
They sent me to one of the best hypnotherapists in the country.
Is it a claustrophobia thing?
It's a bit of everything. Claustrophobia.
I have less hair now.
I don't know what it is. I just don't feel right. I'm sitting in an armchair, look in the sky, and it just doesn't feel right.
For me, it's funny. 2 of my best friends are pilots, and I never used to be really good with flying. But once they became pilots, and I spoke to them, and I got this understanding of it all, it kind of made sense to me.
I think that could be probably a lot to do with it.
Because I think a lot of fear is not knowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't quite know. You get in this big thing, and you're like...
I tend to spectacularise things, you know.
Yeah.
And rather than what's really actually going to happen.
It's not called spectacularising. It's called catastrophising.
Okay.
And this is something which has come up a lot on our shows on Men's Radio, and it's they've done a lot of not the fear of flying, catastrophizing. Okay. It's the thing that people do. 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, you're lying awake. This is going to happen. I know that's going to happen. He's going to find me. She's going to do this.
OCD comes from this.
And it's all of that. And when they've done all the research, and obviously we have a lot of data and analytics before we do the show, though it looks kind of chaotic. It's not actually as chaotic as we pretend. And it shows that 95% of all the things you are saying are going to be a catastrophe never happen.
Yeah.
It just never happens.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff it will happen. You can't help it. That is life. Life is a random lottery. If you get that into your head, life becomes much easier. But most of the stuff never does, and you're lying awake worrying over stuff which is
totally
not
agree.
to worry about.
I totally agree.
And that's a really important
Going back to the pressures of work, though, I mean, it sounds like that's your job, right? And your job is super fun, and
I love it. I wouldn't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
It's what I do.
And I'm always interested in the dynamics, and even in the room here, watching you guys. I mean, you've got your boss and you in the room, and we've got the couple on this side, Russ and
Who
James.
knows what this is?
But what I'm getting at is the relationship between the boss and the subordinate is so important, and the mutual level of respect, and and the fun environment that's created. I mean, that's what makes people thrive within work, in my opinion.
Yeah,
James is there he's got your back when you come off stage.
Absolutely.
He's there to talk. And it does make a difference. Unfortunately, not everybody has that in the workplace.
Do one more song. I've got some hot wings. Come on.
Let's just get one thing straight. He could look after me a bit more, but he does a good job.
Well done. You're brave to say that in the studio, but you can say it outside. You probably
I'm very proud of him. He does a great job for me, and the show's wonderful. And like we've been to, we sold out Edinburgh Playhouse last year twice, 3,000 people a night.
Did you?
I mean,
wow.
Okay, let me say one more thing. So last year we sold 150,000 tickets in Europe. We're now in 18 countries, and there's a chart called Polestar, and it charts down from the top-selling
Ed Sheeran,
the top-selling producer, top selling singers and bands and comedians in Europe.
So what on the
so
revenue?
Ed Sheeran was number one.
Is it a revenue? Don't he goes crazy every time I say that. Every time I say
day
it.
of my life.
So Ed Sheeran was number one. Snow Patrol was 54th. Fast Love was 55th. And then with Noel Gallagher up behind us.
That is so that's based on revenue
on ticket sales.
Just on ticket sales, not on the merch as well.
Just ticket sales. Okay. So we were the top selling tribute show in Europe last year.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Just
so you beat Thriller.
Thriller, I don't think sits on that same scale because it's a West End situation.
Okay, so they wouldn't call that a tour. All right. So, but then it has to tour. So if it comes out the West End, say that then went on tour.
Yeah. So but we sold,
that is a huge thing,
massive,
and you must be very, but on a very personal level, putting aside the finances and the economics of it all, on a personal level, you must say, not that long ago, I'm in LA, I couldn't get out of bed, and I thought I was crap. That's basically, in the non-technical terms, you've just been, and now it's like, look what I've done.
Yeah,
look what I've
Big
achieved.
Success story.
So it's a bit. It is. It's a bit as Carl says.
And we've grown our company. I now have 40 staff, so I employ 100 people a day. Really.
Where are you based?
So I live in Canary Wharf. That's why I was late today. Coming across all the way.
I live in Ringwood.
Well, I came from further.
I'm here
you're
on time.
You're a neighbour.
I am. So, but we employ 100 people a day.
Is that where the company is?
No, it's Southend in Essex.
Oh, right.
So I commute every day. So, but today after this, I'm going to Brentwood. I've got Jimmy Carr tonight with me there in our venue. I'm picking him up from the. I'm looking after him tonight. And
How does he like KFC? Is he a McDonald's guy?
I'll ask him.
Is he a Subway kind of guy?
I'll ask him tonight. He's a very lovely man.
I'd be interested to know.
It's very interesting.
Lovely man.
A guy that I've known forever since I was a kid is actually his next door neighbour.
Really?
By pure chance, a guy called Robert. And he said, I've just moved house and Jimmy Carr lives next door. And I went, does he? He said, it's the loveliest guy. He's not the guy you... It's so interesting. You see this huge disparity. We're talking about mental health in the workplace.
Yeah.
The people you think are going to be lovely can often be total monsters. Trust me. After
Jimmy turned up with 5 minutes to go. Where am I playing? Through the door, on the stage, done a wonderful show. Thank you, James. In his car, gone. Like, so calm, so just charming. I spent the whole of the break in the intermission talking to him. Really wonderful man. That was last week. We had 2 shows. We sold out twice.
I bet.
And just wonderful man. Really, really lovely. So that's my weekend. I go to Australia on Monday, so I'm off there for a few weeks.
Doing what?
Yeah, I'm going to New Zealand and Australia.
It's funny that it's winter here and it's not over there.
I can't wait.
Did you know that, by the way?
What's that?
It's odd that you just happen to be missing the whole of lousy winter in London.
Well, I kind of planned for it. So my
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
okay.
I'm jumping off. I go on Monday. I'm back on the 6th of January.
Is this because you're standing in for?
No, I'm going to go and
Joseph?
just be on my own for a while.
Oh, is that what you're doing? You're not working?
No, I'm having some time off.
Good.
And then on the 7th of January, I'm back in New York with Fast Love for a big conference in New York to showcase our show there for next year. So I graft.
Where will you? But you love it.
Yeah.
And,
and one more thing, I must say, so I love Fast Love. Fast Love's my baby. I've just created a new show. It's called Lost in Music. So it's a disco show. Earth, Wind and Fire, Chic, Sister Sledge, Donna Summer, like the music of.
Bit of me.
Sorry?
Bit of me, that is.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Another bit of disco.
So we just sold out Bridgewater Hall for January in Manchester. We're at the Sage Gateshead in Newcastle this December. We just sold out Wales Millennium Centre.
I love the fact you carry all this in your head. It's not even looking at a note.
See, that's it. So from my mother, and with the acting too, I used to learn 2 hours of dialogue.
Of course you did.
My staff joke, because I remember everything. Like, I can tell you what date, I know we're in Cambridge on the 17th.
What time were you scheduled to be on Men's Radio Station?
Good.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So I'm not a morning person. I'm not.
I remember everything apart from turning up on time.
But I got here. I was here at 2 minutes past.
You did get here.
And I've been very funny, so I made up for it.
You have
we'll be the judge of that, young fella. I think, you know what I think it is? If you're harking back to your acting days, you wanted to make the big entrance.
Well,
you just didn't want to be sitting here when we came back on air.
You got it.
You just wanted a, hi, everybody, I'm here. It was all of that. That's great. If people want to look up your shows, please tell us how we can do it.
So for the overarching show, go on www.entertainers.co.uk.
That's plural, entertainers.co.uk.
If you live in the Essex area, go on brentwood-live.com. We've got Rob Beckett, Jimmy Carr, Russell Kane, Chris Ramsey, Floyd Mayweather in March. We've got Lost in Music there in March as well.
What's Floyd Mayweather doing?
He's doing an audience with.
Oh, okay.
So basically, I've sat him on
Beating
the
the
stage.
crap out of you. My microphone falls apart. That's what it's
and then for Fast Love, fastlovetour.com. So I said the new tour launches in January. It's got Everything She Wants tour, brand new songs in the show.
And don't forget, tonight we're at the Indigo at the O2.
Okay, of course.
That is a big. We've done that venue. It's a big venue. It's a nice space.
Yeah.
It's 3,000.
We've done that.
2,000.
It's 2,000.
So tickets on sale. There's still tickets available tonight.
Indigo. It's a good.
And Bournemouth on Wednesday.
And I have pictures with everyone afterwards.
Yeah.
If you want to come.
Yeah.
And do you do much? Because you're sitting here and I can kind of see I can see it. But do you do a lot to then enhance the George Michael look? I'm not going to say look alike. That's completely different. Look.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I kind of look like him on a fast horse at 50 feet, but I don't go too overboard with it because I'm myself.
It's the same as one of Friendo's show, Dickie Shelton, who does a brilliant show here. He tours all over the world, and he had a huge triumph at Edinburgh this year. He's an old mate, and he's Sinatra, and he doesn't do an impression of Sinatra, but it feels like
that's the best way.
It's really.
As soon as you go out on that stage, trying to convince the fans you're thinking you're George.
No, they know he's no longer with us.
So. I never would have that approach.
One answer question to you both. Hologram tours, yes or no?
No.
Thank you.
You need a front.
No. That was a one answer question. That was a one answer question. Thank you. So I have really enjoyed it. First of all, thank you, Carl Simons, Head of Health and Safety at Thames Water, now official Friendo show. And we're looking forward to welcome you very much on Men's Radio. It's great. Very excited. Fast Love star, Mr. Joseph Sampson.
Sansom.
I for God's sake. Anyway, otherwise known as Joseph George Michael. And James Taylor. Thank you so much for entertaining us. I really, really appreciate it. James Blake rocking the deck. Thank you also to Darren Laverty for his financial expertise. I'm Russ Kane. Until we meet again, have fun.